In the next 2 hours, you're going to get an AI lead generation system that's made over $40 million in revenue for our businesses and our clients. And this is for B2B founders and teams who have a solid offer, a solid sales process, but they just don't have enough people to talk to. If you need more leads, better leads, and more appointments to scale, then you're going to get everything you need from this workshop to install our system that has been battle tested over 11 plus years of experience. And below this video, there's a link to get an extremely detailed SOP and an AI tool that we built for you for free to help you implement all this. So literally you can watch this workshop, implement it right away, and start getting leads today. Now, I know you've probably watched some videos before or bought some courses that were just complete fluffy marketing and didn't help you. And maybe you've came across some good ones that did help you, but maybe they just gave you a lot of theory and they weren't very actionable. This is not that. This free workshop and the launch toolkit will give you everything you need to build, manage, optimize, and scale your cold outbound campaigns so you can go from 0 to booked meetings in just 2 hours. Now, the end goal is simple. Getting you more leads, but not just any ice cold leads. We're talking the super qualified, warm leads. Because this system is specifically designed to attract your most ideal clients and get them warmed up and in a buying state before they have a call with your sales team, so that you can have way easier sales conversations with people who already want to buy your stuff. Because B2B sales isn't about making people buy. It's about finding the people who already want to buy and getting in front of them with the right message, the right offer, the right time, in a cost-effective, profitable way. It's always way easier to close more deals when you're tapping into existing demand rather than trying to create new demand. So that's exactly what we're going to show you, and we're going to go deep on cold email. Cold email is the best way to reach the right people at the right time and book more sales calls.
I mean, fair question. I'm glad that you asked. We're not just some nobodies who got a camera, ChatGPT our way through this course blueprint, and start filming this course for you. No, we're real guys who ran real businesses, and we help real companies scale. This exact system that we show you today is the exact system that we use for the last 11 years to get leads all the way from mom and pop shops to Fortune 500 enterprise companies like Apple, Google, Spotify, Shopify, everything that you want. This exact system will show you how to get leads with any businesses, anybody that you desire. So everything we're sharing today here is backed by data. Most course sellers, most gurus just show you knowledge that they regurgitate from another person that regurgitated from another person. What we show you today is 11 years of trial and errors, things that didn't work for us, what worked for us, and what get real meetings booked for real companies. So you can trust that all the steps that we give you today actually work.
I'm AJ Quesada, co-founder of Revenue Boost, and at Revenue Boost, we've helped over 450 B2B clients get more leads, more appointments, and convert those appointments into cold, hard cash. And we do this through multi-channel outbound campaigns, content and ads, as well as sales process optimization. And I've been fortunate enough to work with brands like Founder, Instantly, Onyx and Gall, The Future, Digital Marketer, and more. All right, Harvey, why don't you tell these people who the heck you are?
I'm Harvey. I was the head of client delivery at one of the biggest outbound agencies in the space. I built, led, and managed a team of 5 GTM engineers that managed a portfolio of 30 plus clients, sending 13 million emails last year. For example, one of my clients, who is a marketing agency, Young with Solution, generated 1.2 million in cash collected revenue just 6 months using this exact system that I'm showing you today. And actually 3 weeks before this workshop, I launched for a B2B estate planning lawyer who within 1 week with this exact system booked 53 calls and generated 186 leads in just 3 days of launching with this exact system.
And here's a couple of my stories. So one of our clients was an SEO agency in Europe. Now this is a really competitive, really difficult niche. And I'll be honest, it was slow for the first few weeks, but once we really optimized every single piece of the system, eventually they were getting 100 to 150 booked calls a month just through a cold email, right? That is absolutely insane. This transformed their business. They had 4x their entire company's revenue in about 12 months' time. And beyond leads, I had actually helped their sales closing rate go from under 5% to 20%. So they were basically getting a 4x increase in the amount of deals they closed, which means not only did they 4x their revenue, they did way more than 4x their profit, because when you're increasing your closing rate and when you're optimizing the sales process, you're making more money for every marketing dollar you spend. So their results went up, their revenue went up, their profit went way up, their CAC went down, and also, of course, their happiness went up, because who wouldn't be happy with those results? And another client who used this system was selling a compliance SaaS tool, which honestly was tough because it's a pretty boring topic, right? No one gets excited about marketing compliance, right? Also, they were creating a new category that people just were not searching for. So we actually had to really, bring this to the market, help them out, help them validate it, help them find their niche. And the other problem too is this wasn't like an urgent top of mind pain point, right? It's kind of like one day I'll worry about that. So this was really tough. We've booked them over 200 demos so far, and we've landed them meetings with some of the biggest brands in the world in their space, like Shopify, Access Campaign, and conversations with companies like TripAdvisor. And InboxKit, who is our partner in this project and also provides us our tech infrastructure, our inboxes, our domains, all of that, they've went from 1 million a year to 50 million a year using this same system. So how did I actually discover the system? When I was 18 years old, I got a job doing door-to-door sales for a big construction company. I ended up dropping out of college when I was 19 years old to work full-time, and I ended up actually being pretty good at this job, building a sales team of over 20 people before I was even 22 years old. It was a great experience, I loved it, but I eventually wanted to start my own business. So I quit my job, and I did what a lot of people did, which was Google how to make money online. I bought a Tai Lopez course, I studied the heck out of it, and then I figured, hey, if I have all these marketing skills from leading my team at this company, then I could just start a marketing agency helping other businesses grow with what I've learned. But the problem was I had to get clients, and the thing is, door-to-door sales from the B2C world didn't really translate to the B2B world, right? So I got really, really good at outbound, but it was very, very different in the B2B environment. Another problem was I really wanted to travel in my 20s, right? I mean, right now we're filming this workshop in Vietnam. So my dream was always to travel and to live abroad and to live in other countries. So I needed a way that I could get clients that was just completely location independent, right? I needed to really, really master digital marketing and not have to go up to people's houses and knock on their doors, right? Third problem was I had no money and no marketing budget. Like a lot of college kids, I hadn't really saved a lot. I had made a lot, but I had not really saved a lot. So I had really like 3 months of living expenses. So running paid ads, running Facebook ads, that was pretty much out of the question, right? So then I tried a lot of social media, posting content, working on my website, working on SEO. My only followers were just my mom and then a couple of high school friends who were probably just making fun of me, and I don't blame them. So I knew it would have worked if I kept doing it, but I couldn't wait 6 to 12 months for organic to kick in. I needed leads now. So I figured, why don't I just really stick to this outbound thing, but do it in a different way? And that became email, LinkedIn, and cold calling. But here's what I haven't told you yet. At this point, I was actually living in a van because I was trying everything and I was getting 0 results. It was really, really frustrating. At one point, I was actually going into hotels, sneaking in, pretending to be a customer in the morning just to get free eggs and bacon and hash browns and just have breakfast without having to spend any money. But then I stumbled across one thing that made all the difference. So I put together a list of health and wellness businesses. I sent them personalized cold emails that really referenced their pain points, and I had a link to a video where I introduced myself and I introduced the offer. And this worked. I still remember the moment that it hit. I was actually in a Walmart parking lot about to go to sleep, not sleeping in the parking lot, but sleeping in my car. And I got an email from one client who wanted to meet. It was a gym. And then a couple hours later, another lead, another client who wanted to meet, who was a naturopathic clinic. So I was so excited, went to bed, woke up, researched their business, planned and did the appointments, and closed one for $2,000 a month, closed one for $3,000 a month, and then pretty soon I was making over $10,000 a month. In what felt like a single moment, everything had changed. I went from basically negative money to having a 6-figure salary and finally being able to have some breathing room, get a real apartment, get real employees, invest in my growth, and build a real business. And that's why Revenue Boost exists, to give this same system that changed everything to me, to our clients, and to you. And here's what I learned from all of it. If you master client acquisition, you can make any business work. Because over 90% of small businesses and startups fail, and they cite that the main reason is lack of cash flow. But lack of cash flow is a symptom of lack of lead flow. So if you can just get really, really good at lead generation, just master one system and make it consistent, that is the one big domino. That's the key to making any business work.
Yeah, and here's something funny. I mean, I actually learned this system from this guy himself back in 2021. And when I started in cold email, I was terrified of sending a cold email. Like, I was fighting myself to send 10 emails to gym and coaching businesses when I was overweight, funny enough. And I was fighting myself every day to the point where, man, I'm so scared of this. Let me go get a cashier job in Walmart to try to pay the bills, and forgot about entrepreneurship in like 3 months. And then eventually I got tired of canned tuna sandwich, sleeping on the couch, and I don't know, making food bank runs. And I dive head back into sales first of all. And funny enough, sold dating coaching. I'm a very good dating coach. Never got to use any of it because I got a girlfriend now, but that's what got me my start in sales. And eventually I sold everything that I can touch, eventually getting to the B2B sales space where I need to get my own leads. And of course, the more leads you have, the more money you have. And I said, oh, I got that cold email knowledge that I haven't used yet from AJ. Let me go and figure this out. And that's when AI wasn't in AI. You need to do a lot of volume. You need to do all sorts of copy, magic, thingy-mashingy, to try to get some leads. And I made it work then, purely based on copy and volume. But when I got recruited by one of the biggest outbound agencies in the space, when the AI boom took off, that's where you have to adapt this whole cold email framework into the AI space, and there's a whole new meta of doing cold outbound. And that's where I really learned how you can get so targeted leads with a really personalized one-on-one message that I couldn't do when I was doing high volume at my previous sales job. To get real leads for real businesses.
So let's talk about what is outbound and where does it actually fit into your GTM plan. Let's say that I'm selling video production services. I can either, post some content on social media, right? And I can hope that my people eventually see it, and then some of them come to me, very few of them, right? I can also put out an ad, and I can get more people to see it and force that a lot of people see it, right? But in both these situations, with paid ads and with content, you're still waiting for people to come to you, right? So if you're really just trying to get a lot of results quickly and you're trying to make an impact in the next 30 days, the third option is outbound, right? This is where you're doing calls, you're doing emails, and then you can do DMs on any platform, right? LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Pick your poison. And the difference between outbound and inbound is inbound, you're basically putting content out there and waiting for people to start the conversation with you. With outbound, you're bringing the conversation to them. You're the initiator, right? So it's very powerful. So with outbound, you have a direct path to leads. It's a direct response marketing method. It's kind of more like sales than marketing. It's more like marketing is the part that actually scales it. But really what outbound is, at its core, is it's one-to-one conversations at scale. The good news is you can automate it, right? You don't need to sit there and send 100 personalized cold emails until your fingernails bleed, like what I used to do and what Harvey used to do, right? So we're gonna show you how to automate all of this. Then we're gonna show you how to layer AI on top of that to get the best results possible. And really, this is the big difference between the old way of doing outbound and the new way, right? Because it was very different when I did it all of those years ago, right? It's much, much easier now if you actually have the right AI and automation systems. So Harvey, you wanna talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So think about how you'd write a personalized cold email, right? You'd go to somebody's website, their LinkedIn profile, and think about, okay, what is this person doing? What is their job title? How can I help this person based on what I offer, right? So let's say if I was a TikTok marketing agency and I'm looking at an e-commerce business owner's LinkedIn profile. I looked at, they sell, let's say, a fashion company selling gym clothing. They are in England, in London, and they just started the company 2 years ago. I can use that information to then write something really personal about them and how I can help them based on the case studies and the experience that I have with my business. Now, think about, you have to do that. If it was the old way, you have to do that manually, and you can only send maybe max 50 emails a day like that. It's a full-time job for your SDRs to do that. But with AI, you can research thousands and thousands of businesses. Literally yesterday, I researched 20,000 people at one time, and it happens in just 30 minutes to get me that personalized emails in 30 minutes with using AI. And that's how you get result at scale, automating with AI.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this a little bit more later and actually show you the workflows and give you our AI tools as well. But essentially, there's a couple different things that AI does to make outbound much more targeted and much more effective. So Harvey just explained one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Which is using AI personalized messaging. There's a few others, right? So where AI fits into the picture, and don't worry, we're gonna tell you guys all the tools as well. AI is good for the research and account AI is good for the account research and the list building, right? So it helps you find the right companies and find the right people at those companies, right? Now, obviously you could already do this a couple years ago, but now you can really layer in on the exact perfect fit companies and just do it at a way bigger scale, way faster, right? Then it does the research component. This is supposed to be a pencil, just so you know. There we go. So then it does the research. So once you have your lead list, now you can do research. Now in the past, we used to have to hire like SDRs to research each account and try to make sure that they're qualified. And if they're qualified, find the email and then find out something about their business that we can say in the outbound message to make it more personalized, like Harvey was explaining, right? And that would take, again, at least 10 to 20 minutes per account, right? Now you can just completely automate that, right? And this allows you to write much better messaging. Now, once you research your leads, you can do a couple different things with that data, right? So first, you can qualify them. So qualify leads is a pass or fail. So let's say that, back to the example, let's say I'm selling video production services, right? Let's say I only want to work with e-commerce businesses in health and wellness. Well, qualifying them is I can take my whole list of businesses and I can say, confirm AI, go check and make sure that these are actually e-commerce businesses selling health and wellness products to consumers at least a $50 price point. It'll go to their website and it'll tell you yes or no. So this helps make sure that you're reaching, again, the right people with the right message. You can also score the leads, right? So, you watching this, I'd imagine that you have a list of factors that determine what makes a good client for you or not, right? What if you took your most dream client scenario? What if you took like the 5 characteristics of your absolute best clients who pay you the most and stay the longest and complain the least? And what if you actually put that into an AI model that could check all of these different companies and just basically make sure that which of these companies closely represent my ideal client the most, right? So you could assign a 1 to 10 scoring model, right? You can also assign scoring based on inbound activity, right? So you can give more points to leads that have went to your website, downloaded something, followed you on social media, right? So you can score the leads. And why do you want to score the leads? So that you can actually know who are the best leads to reach out to. Let's say you have a couple sales reps and one of them is like your best sales guy and one of them, he's kind of new. He's not really getting the hang of it yet, right? Well, you don't want to send your best leads to those guys, right? So you want to send your best leads to your best closer, and you can set up a round robin scenario as well with your calendar. So a lot of things you can do with scoring leads, but ultimately you can kind of prioritize the best clients who are going to be the most in need of your offer and just the best people to work with, right? And then after that, your research can allow you to write personalized messaging because here's the problem. Maybe you watching this have tried outbound before with little to no results, and maybe it was very depressing, right? I hear that a lot, and people even ask me does outbound even still work, AJ? There's so many people doing cold emails now, and that's also a very, very valid question, right? It does still work if you're good at it, right? And today we're showing you how to get good at it. So a couple of things happened over the industry the last couple of years, right? I've seen a lot of changes from all the cycles in the industry and all the time I've been doing this. And a couple of years ago, new software came out instantly, and it made it really, really easy to do high volume cold email for very, very cheap, right? They came in with one fixed price and they kind of changed the market, right? And what does this mean? Whenever the barrier to entry gets lower, more people are doing it, right? This is why in business, you don't just always want to do the easy things, right? This is kind of what's happening with AI now, right? Because AI can make social media content now really easily, everybody's making crappy social media content, right? So anytime you're doing something that anyone else can easily do, you don't really have an advantage and you're kind of competing with everybody, right? So that's what's happening with cold email, right? A lot more people are doing cold email because it just got way cheaper and way simpler than all the manual stuff. Remember having to do the DKIM and all that garbage ourselves, right?
Exactly.
So basically, it got a lot easier. More people are doing it, which means your prospects are receiving way more cold emails and cold calls and LinkedIn messages now, right? So they still read them, they still reply to them. Again, just the other day, we booked a meeting with Shopify for one of our SaaS clients, right? So people still reply to outbound messaging if it's good, but now their bar for good is higher because you're one of many, right? So now it's really important to have differentiation, which a lot of times comes from the offer. So now it's really important to have differentiation, which a lot of times comes from the offer and the strategy and the targeting and the positioning, but also very much comes from personalized messaging. So that's why personalized messaging is so, so important. A lot of people ask me AJ, is it spammy? I don't want to spam my list. Just to be clear, guys, we are not advising you to spam your list. We do outbound in a way that actually uplifts your brand reputation and builds more goodwill. Because like anything, everything is just a tool and it just depends how you use that tool, right? Social media is not inherently bad or good for your personal life. It just depends on how you use it, right? Like anything. So cold email outreach is just a tool. You can do it in a way where you're giving value and even offering free lead magnets and building great relationships. Or you can do it in a way where you piss people off by emailing them 10 times within a 2-day period, right? So we're gonna be showing you how to do this in a way that actually gives value and doesn't leave you or the clients with an icky feeling, in a way that actually uplifts your brand reputation.
And funny enough, when you do cold outreach right, and you do it in a valuable way, people appreciate you reaching out. There's so many times when me and AJ read emails that are like, oh, we actually really need this right now. I appreciate you for reaching out. That's the feeling that you create in people when you do it right and you do it timely.
Absolutely. So one other way we can talk about today where AI fits into the GTM process. So we're not going to be getting too deep into sales today, but I just want to give you guys one quick nugget. So where AI fits into the modern GTM process is also the sales process, because think about it, you're collecting all this data about your leads, right? Following our process, right? You're getting all this information, you're enriching data, you're learning about, each of your leads that comes in, each of the companies. You can do a lot with that, right? Because now, once someone books a call, right, you want to get them in a buying state like we talked about earlier, right? So you can send personalized messaging, even personalized content to people before a call. Imagine this. Imagine you have 100 case studies for your business of different customer stories in all different industries, right? Well, there's a way that you can actually build an AI model that looks up your case studies and picks the most relevant case study to send to that prospect, so that before they have a sales call with your SDR, your AE, they're actually reading a case study of someone just like them. So if that's possible, I think you get the idea. A lot more is possible as well, right? So it's really like sales enablement. It's lead nurture. It's show rate. Right? You can use AI to get more leads to show up, right, for the call. So there's so much you can do. One of my other favorite ways too is for call analysis, right? So if you're the founder and you're doing sales, you should record your sales calls. If you have a sales team and they're doing sales for you, then have them record their sales calls, because you can take all of the meeting transcripts using Fathom. Fathom AI is absolutely my favorite. You can take their meeting transcripts and then you can actually learn from that, right? So when we onboard a client, we go a step further than just getting them leads. We try to really help them understand their ICP and their business and their offer and help them really nail down their strategy. So we'll take their sales calls, we'll upload it into our model, and then basically we'll learn like, what are the common objections? What are the common phrases? What are the things customers are saying? What is the industry language they're saying, right? And you can build reports out of this, which you can use to train your sales team better. You can give it to your product team to improve the product, right? You can use it in marketing. So that's one of my favorite ways, but there's a lot we can do with it. Again, we're not gonna get deep into sales today. Obviously, you guys can subscribe to the channel and follow us, and we'll probably be doing another sales course soon, but just wanna give you a couple of tidbits there, because we're talking about AI for GTM, right?
And inside of this, when you download the SOP and get into the actual course, there's an advanced section that we also cover advanced AI workflows. Things like, I've actually used AI to send out pigeon mails, postcards.
Really?
Yeah. I got a video on my LinkedIn on how you can send AI handwritten mails to real businesses that they can hold. They're like, oh my God, John from this company actually wrote me a handwritten letter about how I can use the service. I actually did that with AI. And you can totally do that, but that's more advanced stuff that we'll cover inside the course in the SOP down below.
I thought you said pigeon mails.
Pigeon mails, handwritten mails, right?
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, but no, pigeon mails.
Oh, you were just having a joke, yeah.
Yeah, but
I was like, wait, are people still doing that? That'd be sick.
AI pigeon mails.
AI pigeon mails. Awesome. Hey, real quick, if you're a founder or a sales and marketing lead at a B2B company and you'd like to get more qualified calls booked on your calendar, maybe an extra 20, 50, 100 qualified booked calls on your sales team's calendar every single month, then you should learn about what we do at Revenue Boost, because we've helped over 400 B2B companies get revenue on demand and scale their pipeline primarily through outbound, as well as layering in inbound and paid ads. So if you'd like to see what we do, you can book a 30-minute call in the description for a free go-to-market planning session. There's no pitch really, it's just a call to see if we can help. And we'll actually look at your market, your offer, your messaging, your competition, and we'll tell you exactly how we would scale your business and get more leads on the calendar. So if that sounds good, book a call below, and back to the video. Another question we get asked a lot is, how does this actually fit into my marketing plan, right? Because obviously, like, you have a set marketing budget and you always have to think, where should I put that budget, right? Should I put it into inbound, into paid ads, into outbound? If so, like, what specific channels? And where can I get the best bang for my buck? Where can I get the best ROI, right? And for me, it's not about like just cold email. It's about all of the channels, but doing it in the right order. It's all about sequencing, right? So let me show you my OIP acquisition system. So this is the way that I've launched all of the businesses that I've built, as well as all of the clients' businesses that I've helped build. So we always do outbound, inbound, and paid in that order, and I'm going to explain why. Outbound, inbound, and paid. So again, like even though, Harvey and I do a ton of cold email and outbound work for our clients, we're not here to tell you that cold email is the only way, right? But it's the best first step to build as the foundation of your marketing and your demand generation system, right? So here's why. Every channel has its pros and cons, right? And really you want all three of them to be a very complete system, right? As you grow your company, you're gonna be adding in all these channels if you wanna keep growing, right? And they all work together, right? The key is to actually make all of them work together and to not have them just be separate activities. But you wanna do outbound first because the benefit outbound gives you is that it's direct response, right? Which means that it gets you results quick. Like it's just an offer-driven marketing strategy, right? And then also it's low risk because it's cheap. Now there's other benefits, but ultimately, why does this matter? Well, when you're basically going from warm traffic to cold, meaning like let's say that you only get referrals now and then some leads from like networking or events, and like when you're really trying to build a consistent acquisition system, then you have to realize that everything is going to take time to work out the messaging and validate your niche and your offer, right? Basically, your business has to prepare for cold traffic. Things look different when you start going outside of your warm pools of leads and you start going to strangers who don't know you and asking them to buy your stuff, right? Because here's the thing. You're gonna have to really work on your messaging, your positioning, your branding, your offers, your lead magnets, making sure your sales process is squeaky clean. All these things that you wouldn't really have had to worry about when people are just coming to you inbound like referrals because they already have trust. Like they don't need to like all these things in the sales process, right? But when you're going to colder leads, you're going to have to just optimize your process for cold traffic. And part of that is really validating your messaging, your offer, and like who is my true ICP? Who is my ideal client, right? So outbound is a low risk way to do that, right? Because let's say with paid ads. With paid ads is also direct response. So if you're thinking that, hey, I want something to work quickly, why don't I just do paid ads? Well, paid ads is very, very, very expensive, right? Any good agency for paid ads is gonna be a minimum of 3 to 5K per month on the low end, right? And then you're gonna have to pay a minimum of 3 to 5K per month in ads, and again, that's on the low end, right? So typically you should be like, a lot of companies will advise you spending 10K a month or more from the start, right? So paid ads is great, but you can burn a lot of money and lose your shirt very, very, very quickly. I know because I've done it. So with paid ads, because it costs a lot of money, you don't want to be like starting with paid ads when you don't really know your messaging, the offer and the lead magnet that's going to work, your true ICP, because then you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars just trying to test and figure that out without even like making any money, right? So with outbound, you can test your message, you can validate your message market fit, you can validate your offer, figure out what lead magnets work, get your hooks down, all in a low risk, cheaper environment because you don't need to spend 10 to 20K a month on outbound at the start, right? So outbound has both benefits, right? It works quickly and it's low risk. So we start with outbound and we build that as the base, right? Then you should go to inbound because you should be doing content, you should be doing videos, you should be doing podcasts, right? It's really important to build an inbound channel as well so that eventually you are having leads just come to you and it's not always, like you have to keep, going out for new ones, right? You're building this brand and this thing that just takes life of its own, right? So inbound is important, but the problem with inbound is it takes a while. If you started posting on YouTube today or you started a podcast today, it takes a long time. Like my social media, it took me a couple years before it was really, really like consistent, right? So inbound is great. Inbound is also low risk because from a financial perspective, you don't need to spend that much money on it, but it also takes a lot of time and it is non-direct response, right? I mean, people use social media to sell, but social media doesn't work as well when you use it to sell. No one goes on social media to be sold, right? So like that's why if you see like some people that are just making all these posts or these videos that are just like about their offer, they're not really gonna get a lot of results, right? Because people don't go on social media. You have to go on social media with the intention of long-term mindset, building brand, giving value, right? Out of every 10 posts, 9 should be value given, 1 should be a CTA, if that. Probably in the beginning, you should just be giving like full value, right?
The thing is, your value in this space has to be really good nowadays because now everybody can pull good value from AI. So you have to be really, really good with your content and the way you deliver in content now. So the bar to enter content is also higher.
So this is my OIP acquisition system, right? My 3-phased approach to GTM. Do outbound first because your goal first is not to make a bunch of revenue. It's to validate your niche, offer, and messaging. Just NOM, remember that, right? You want a direct response channel so that you can actually make an impact in the first 90 days, right? You don't want to wait around forever for organic to kick in. And then once you've started to validate that, then you start layering in inbound, right? LinkedIn posts, YouTube, podcasts, whatever you fancy, whatever makes sense for your audience, right? Then once you've got inbound working and getting leads coming to you, then you layer in paid because by this point, first of all, you'll have made a bunch of money from outbound and inbound if you've done it right. and you can just basically reinvest the profits to paid, because honestly, when you're doing paid ads, you got to set aside at least ideally 30 grand or so and not expect to make it back, right? Especially thinking about the sales cycle. And also typically when you're doing paid ads, you're gonna get lower quality leads at the start. So really just think 20 to 50 grand, you gotta be kind of comfortable spending with maybe not much ROI. You could get an ROI sooner, especially if you have a great offer, great product market fit. But to be on the safe side, because I've burned 30 grand before without making a profit on paid ads, right? So if you do paid ads last, by this point, you'll have a great organic presence, which means when someone sees your ad, they'll be more likely to want to work with you and trust you, right? Because the better your organic is, the better that your paid is, right? And the lower your cost will be as you scale, right? Because you'll have the brand, right? And then also you'll have figured out who is my perfect fit client, my ICP, my message, my offer through outbound, through all that testing on the direct response, and you can take those learnings over to paid. So you see how this all works together? When you do it in this order, you lower your downside, you maximize your upside, and you shorten the path to getting results. And again, you make all these channels work together, because here's where it gets fun. I'm a big fan of outbound-led, what is it?
Inbound-led outbound.
There's always so many new terms marketers and LinkedIn people are coming up with, right? But inbound-led outbound, right? Or what they call it, all-bound or warm outbound, or whatever the kids are calling it these days. But what people don't realize, there's a hidden power to outbound that most people don't even know, right? So aside from using outbound to get cold leads, you can also use outbound to convert your warm leads and improve conversion rates in the funnel, right? So I wasn't planning for this in the course, but let's just do this real quick. So if you got a funnel, right, and you have all these steps, let's say you got a webinar, let's say that you've built out the OIP acquisition system. You got inbound, outbound, paid. You got a webinar, let's say you got some sort of
content
lead magnet.
Yeah.
Let's say you got website visitors, right, lead magnet. You got social media. And then you got people that book a call and then they don't close, right? So for each step of the funnel, you can use outbound here, you can use outbound here, you can use outbound here. For example, right, you can feed those leads to your sales reps or to yourself if you're doing the sales yourself. And you can basically cold email, LinkedIn, or cold call everyone who visited your site but didn't sign up using visitor identification software, right? Like our B2B. So you can basically reach out to people who visited your site but didn't convert. If someone's went to your webinar or to your event and they didn't convert, you can reach out to them with a personalized message at the exact right time. If someone's booked a call with you and they didn't show, you can have the outbound team just reach out to them and rebook them. If someone's booked a call and they didn't close, when the salesperson's finished with their process, you can have automated outbound personalized at scale happening to them. So basically, any part in your funnel where the conversions are low, think about using outbound as a way to basically move people and push them further down the funnel. So basically, it's actually once I figured this out, I realized you can make any funnel way more profitable with this, because you can find all the choke points and you can just raise the conversion rates, again, without spending more money on marketing. And this is where the magic is, right? Because when you improve the conversion rate at one point in your funnel, then you're basically making all that is gravy, right? That's all extra revenue and profit from the same marketing dollars you already spent. Because you only got to spend money and time to get a lead once, right? But anything you can do to make sure that that lead converts at a higher rate or buys more, right? That's just gravy, right? So outbound has its other benefits. So that's really how the whole acquisition system works together. It's really an acquisition ecosystem, not just a system, right? It should all work together, but you start with outbound, then inbound, and that's paid, and then paid. And that hopefully should answer the question of where does the outbound fit into my marketing plan and what should I start with?
And another thing as well, some of you may sell to audience that are not on any social media platform. You don't really find much doctors or anything on LinkedIn or Facebook or DM. Nobody puts doctor and anything on their DMs, right? So everybody use email. You can go and look at real businesses with real email and actually target them. So sometimes cold email is the only way you can get leads for businesses that sells into niches that are really not on any social platform.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. So that actually, I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a super important point. So some clients have come to us for outbound when they're already successful. They're already getting lots of leads from paid or inbound. But they've come to us for outbound because there's a new market they want to break into, or there's their perfect ICP is not reachable through social media, right? Let's say what would be an example of a really specific niche that you just cannot attract through paid ads?
Doctors and
well, you could attract doctors.
But you can't really do it consistently. There's B2B would be a good one as well, because a lot of times Facebook ads or Instagram ads, you're not reaching the B2B buyer, the VP of revenue, the CEOs of these companies mid-market,
perfect.
right?
So example, let's say that you're trying to reach the VP of growth at a large chain of like alternative wellness medical clinics, right?
Exactly.
Something that specific, good luck trying to attract them through your ads and your content. You'll get some, right? But you'll have to spend so much money on advertising to reach people who are not that person, right? Whereas with outbound, you can just go straight to them like a sniper, right? You can just get a list of, like you can get a list of 100 perfect fit businesses and reach out to them. Whereas with ads and organic, you don't really have that effect. Now you still want to do those things because when people look you up online, like it's good that they see you're organic. But yeah, if you have a very, very specific ICP who's just like absolutely perfect for you, call it the Dream 100 list, then outbound's really going to be the only way to get to them effectively, especially if you have a very small target market. So Harvey, let's talk about the cost to start. So I'm sure people are wondering like, hey guys, what's the right tech stack? What's the right, what should I be expecting to spend, right? Because you can do this for free. You can take what you're learning here and you can just go build a list of people for free and just reach out to them with an email or a call or LinkedIn message. But if you want to automate it and scale it and add AI, we should talk for just a minute about what kind of monthly spend they should expect.
Yeah, so on monthly spend, it's really depending on how fast you're trying to test this, because the bigger the budget that you're willing to spend up front, the faster you can test and validate the message, which could mean you're spending less total to test message. So give me an idea, right? Somebody may spend $2,000 to be able to spend to send something like 10,000 emails a day. Now, with that volume, you're able to reach message market fit and get a sales process of outbound dialed in much faster than if you were to spend only $200 a day and send maybe something $200 a month and only send something like 500 to 1,000 emails a day, especially if you're in big B2B companies and you want to do a lot of volume. So it's really depending on what you're willing to spend, but even $200 to $300 a month, sending something like 1,000 emails a day is totally enough for you to start testing and start getting message market fit. And then by the end of that test, which could cost you really ultimately like $500 to figure out what it is, and then you have a model that is like, okay, now I know how many emails I send to make how much revenue, and then you just load up your spend up front, your budget, and then you know how much you can make.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, just to give you guys a range, figure like a minimum of $200 to $1,000 a month, and it just depends on how fast you want to go, how many calls you want in your calendar, right? When we onboard a client, we're spending a minimum of $1,000 a month, right? And then also, if you're going to do this yourself and like really take the time to learn it, or you're going to have your team do it, then all you got to pay for is just $1,000 or less in software, minimum $200, $300, right, to test it. But also, if you're hiring an agency, if you'd rather not do this yourself and you'd rather hire a professional team, well, first of all, you can book a call down below if you would just like to chat with us about doing it for you. But overall, typically a good agency is going to run you at least $6K a month to do it properly and to do it at a very high scale, right? And then they're typically going to pay for the tech for you. But anyways, down below in the we have that free SOP for you. So in the SOP and in the AI tool, there is some training on when should you outsource sales versus when should you do it in-house. So if you want to learn, if you're thinking more about like, should I outsource or should I do it myself, just that'll be in the SOP as well. In the SOP, in the launch toolkit, there's going to be some more information about what should you outsource, should you do it in-house. But overall, it just depends on how fast you want to go. Like if you have the budget and you want to make this work sooner, then definitely hire a professional team, because like for us, like when we work with a client, we have 5 specialists working on their account. Like if you were going to try to build that in-house, that's a lot of salaries. And also if you're doing it yourself, there's going to be a long period of trial and error to really get it right. Now, this workshop is going to really help you shortcut a lot of that trial and error, but still, just if you're doing it yourself, expect that you're going to have to put in a decent amount of time every week to learning it, managing it, optimizing it, and it will take more months before you kind of like have it as good as an agency would have it. But anyways, potato, there's just different paths and different pros and cons, and you guys can learn more about that in the SOP down below. But anyways, the risk to reward ratio is just unlike anything I've ever seen, right? Like the cost versus the like when it's profitable and it's working, it is just insane, right? So the risk to reward is great, which is what I love about this channel, and that's why we use it as the first step in our acquisition system. And overall, it's just also simple and easy to start. Like back to the whole like why outbound, why should I learn this, why should I do this? It just has so few moving parts. Like you just need a list, you need to message these people, and you need to convert those leads into a booked call, right? Like it's just 3 parts. So sometimes I've seen a lot of marketers on like LinkedIn that are sharing these complex diagrams, these
Claude code skills.
Hey, look at this workflow I built that has 28 steps. And I'm just usually laughing at it because I'm like, you guys should see how simple my system is, right? Like, I don't know if my brain's just not advanced enough to build these complex systems or I just don't like complexity. But like, complexity is not good. Simple is good, right? Because when you have a 28-step funnel, then what happens? That's 28 things that you got to build, 28 things you got to test, 20 things that could go wrong. And while it might look cool and get you a couple of LinkedIn comments, it's not going to make you that much money. You're going to make more money by having 3 things in your system, aka outbound, right? Just 3 steps to make outbound work. And then you can just focus on putting all your energy into those 3 things, right? It's like a magnifying glass, right? If you have all these different scattered marketing activities, all these systems, all these different steps in a complicated funnel, your energy is spread everywhere. But back to the magnifying glass, if you focus the magnifying glass on one thing, you can make the ant or whatever when you were a kid, right? You would make the ant go on fire, right?
I'm not American, so I don't know what this is going to do.
I guess that's an American thing. But anyways, when a magnifying glass is focused at one point, it can actually create fire, right? Because it's all the sun's energy just focused. So the nice thing about outbound is there's only 3 things you need to really focus on getting good at, like 3 steps, right? So it's simple, it's easy to start, and it's pretty easy to optimize because it just doesn't take, there's just less things you have to worry about. Cool, so how to use a workshop. Okay, cool, sweet. So now next part. So now we're about to get into the scope method, which covers each of the different fundamentals of outbound, where we're using AI, and basically the 5 levers you got to pull in order to get results. But real quick, I want to just cover how to use this workshop because this is different than other courses you might have bought before. Well, I know it's very different because we've created it to be different. So this is meant to be more of a workshop. We called it that for a reason. A workshop is meant to be actionable. The point of this is to follow it, implement it as you go, and then actually get results, right? And that's why we've kept this pretty course. Like, you're gonna see that this is not a very long workshop. At first, like when we were looking at the content, so I have a different course that was like 60 hours of content I built a couple years back. That's the one where I met Harvey because he came in as a student, right? But it's very, very long, right? So we wanted to take a lot of time on our end to make a course that's shorter for you. So it's like a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience and a lot of expertise packaged into a short time. And the way we're able to do that, other than just a lot of planning and taking the time to make this really good for you guys, is we have the SOP and the launch toolkit. So you have to get all parts. You have to click the link below and put in your email for that, because that's going to give you, again, all the ways that you can actually action on this, right? Like, ultimately, you're gonna have the SOP, which covers everything in this video, right? You can reference it. So I would say download it now and open it up on a tab and follow it as you're going along. And then the launch toolkit, the AI tools as well, you're gonna be able to basically put in information about your business. All you gotta do is just type in a couple things, right? Tell us who you are, what you're all about, what kind of clients you want, right? And then it's going to be able to actually build out the creative assets for you and help you launch the campaign and save you so much time, right? So the reason I say that as well is because as we're going through this workshop, if you feel like there's a topic that we kind of breezed over and you're like, I don't totally know how to do that, it's because we have the SOP and the AI tool to do it for you. And we want to keep this content like pretty, again, under 2 to 3 hours or so, right? So that's how we're able to make it efficient, because I know that if we had a 20-hour course, probably no one would click on it, and I wouldn't either, because who's got 20 hours? So we've made this to be very fast, very efficient, very useful for you.
And another thing as well, the SOPs clearly break down by the different databases, different things that you're trying to do. So we don't want to cover all of that here on this video. That's why the SOP is like, if you're targeting local businesses, you have a specific video for that. If you're targeting B2B SaaS companies, you have a specific video for that. So it's all nailed down for you there. And if you input your business details into that AI launch toolkit, you'll have a literally plan step-by-step that you can follow along with this video to launch under 2 hours.
So now we're gonna go to the scope method, and this part's gonna be pretty intense. We're gonna really get into like all of the very specific tactics that we've used at each step. Just some quick housekeeping. I highly recommend you turn off all of your messages, your notifications. Don't have things dinging and buzzing and bipping and bobbing while you're doing this workshop, right? Because honestly, your Slack notifications, your emails are not gonna make you revenue, but this workshop will. So just make sure you can stay focused. Also, I know you're probably busy, right? Running your company, running your sales, but if possible, try to just make sure you go through this whole workshop and then go through some of the action steps in one session, just because you'll kind of really get into the flow state. But obviously, if you got to split it up, that's fine too. What you don't want to do though is just kind of like keep piecemealing 10 minutes here and there and then like not do the action steps, right? So just make sure you actually either finish the full workshop and implement it right away, or plan a date in your calendar to implement it so that you can actually get the result. Because otherwise, if you're just learning things and you're not doing anything about it, then that's just, you're not learning, right? Like learning is, according to Alex, I love this definition by Alex Ramosi, right? Learning is behavior change. If your behavior does not change, you haven't learned anything. You've just watched YouTube videos and you've hung out with Harvey and I for 2 hours. And that's fine too. I think we're cool guys. But the point of this is to actually help grow your business. So make sure you're implementing it. All right, so the scope method. So let's go through the scope method, right? So at my agency, and I'm sure at yours as well, like we've had to figure out, what is the science behind getting booked meetings from outbound campaigns, right? Because ultimately, like when we have all these different clients, if we have a client who's low on results, we got to diagnose quickly, what's the problem? How can we fix it? What's the plan to put him back on track, right? And for me, this really became real when I started hiring a team, because when I was just doing all the campaigns myself many years ago, sometimes when you just do something yourself, it's kind of intuitive. But when you have employees, you have to really break it down into a system, right? So it took me a while to kind of like codify my knowledge and figure out like, what am I actually doing that gets getting results? Because it just felt intuitive to me because I've just done this forever, right? So here are 5 things, 5 levers, right? If you're currently running outbound campaigns and you're not happy with the results, or you just want to get more results, then you can look at these 5 things as an audit, right? So this is a way to fix broken outbound campaigns, or if you're just starting new ones, you can just make sure you hit all 5 of these as a checklist, right? So the SCOPE method stands for scale, copy, offer, prospect, and email deliverability. So let's go through each one. And by the way, the order of importance, Harvey, I'm curious if you'd agree with this, but the order of importance is starting with the last letter to the front, meaning like email deliverability is most important because you got to get seen. Then it's the prospect list, who you're targeting, because you got to target the right person, right? If you're selling, I always say that you can't sell meat to a vegan, even if it's a Japanese Wagyu steak for $1, right? They're going to be offended that you even tried, right? So targeting is number 2 before anything else. Then offer, you got to sell the right thing to the right person. Then copy, and then scale, which is volume. Because if you do it in that order, like if your email deliverability is trash, nothing else matters. If you're reaching out to the wrong people, nothing else matters, right? And then if you're not offering them the right thing, then copy doesn't matter, right? So it's all about doing those things in order of importance. So it's a descending order. So let's start with scale. Let's start with scale. Harvey, you want to talk about your money model for this, the math behind it?
So when you do everything right, like you got the email deliverability right, you got the offer, you got the message dialed in, and you know how to book calls from these, and you got a good sales process to close these deals, eventually you'll end up in a model where you know how much emails you send to get how many leads that wants to book a call with you. From those leads, how many leads actually book the call, how many leads show up to the call, and how many calls you actually close into the client. So then eventually you end up with a model, okay, how many emails you send to get how much revenue in your pocket. So then you can budget, okay, I'm spending $5 to send one email, but I'm making $10. That's 2x ROI. So then that's the model that you use to then forecast your growth, and based on different things like TAM, offer, and the tech stack that you're running, now you get really into like, this is the money I'm spending, this is the money I'm making, and then outbound becomes a profitable and consistent channel for you.
And the key word is consistent, right? The key word is consistent, because ultimately you don't just want, like, I always like to think about the difference between a campaign and a system, right? A campaign is like a one-off thing. Like, let's say you sponsor an event. Yeah, you can make some money from it, right? But then what happens next? Nothing. The engine is turned off, right? So what you want is you want an acquisition system. That's why we keep using the word system and consistent, right? You want something that you can build that's going to compound on itself, right? And it's going to work for like eternity, right? Well, as long as you and your business are alive, pretty much. But basically, that's why you want to think about the math behind it, because you want to really build a system that's profitable, that you can just eventually get to a point where, again, I put $1 into this, right, with my agency or with my tools and my team, and I get $10 out, and I could just basically forecast my growth and forecast how many calls am I getting, and then you'll kind of know, okay, I need to hire another salesperson soon, and you can kind of just really make it very data-driven as well, right? Anything else we'd say about the scale and the volume? Actually, real quick, guys, in terms of the numbers, you might also be wondering, like, what are the KPIs? What are the benchmarks? What numbers do I track? That's all going to be in the SOP below. Part of the AI tool is that we actually have a calculator for you, and something where you can actually put in, you guys are gonna love this, you can put in details about your business. You know, what do you sell? What do you make on it? What is your closing rate? All of that, right? And you can actually like play around with the projections, and it'll show you exactly how many emails you need to send to hit your quota, to hit your call booked and your revenue targets. So we've got this down to an absolute science, and the tool below you're gonna absolutely love, because it's gonna just do all the thinking for you, so you don't need to hire any smart math people like Harvey here. And
now, we say that, but again, you need the thinking to getting into outbound is that the first is you need to figure out the message market fit. So the first month, sometimes the first 3 months, you're not gonna have that model down. You're not gonna have that model like all science out, right? But that's just anytime you're getting into new channel, that's just the way it is. But once you have everything dialed in, that exact model, you can put your details in, and then you can forecast your growth the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, it's super, super helpful. So also, if you're wondering like, what kind of ROI, because let's say that you're a VP and you have to sell this to your team, right? Or your CEO, right? You can use the tool to basically say, hey, if we spend this much, this is what we expect to get back, within 90 days, right? So yeah, you guys are gonna love that. But the math is very, very important. So definitely, the other things in the launch toolkit will help you with that, because it's really important to understand your numbers, and it's important to know like what numbers are you optimizing for, right? But also you have to send enough volume, right? So a lot of times someone will come to me and they'll say, hey AJ, my cold email is not working. Can you take a look at it? And honestly, like the most common reason I see someone's campaigns are not working is that they're just not sending enough volume. I look at their instantly and they've sent 400 emails and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna reschedule this meeting. Let's talk in a month when you've sent like 10,000, right? Because ultimately, if you haven't sent enough data, like you need a big sample size, right? It's kind of like statistical significance. Man, we have so many tongue twisters today, right? Statistical significance.
Sorry guys, we need to sound a little smart.
Exactly. So if you flip a coin 2 times and it lands on head, would you say that this coin is only heads? No, of course not, right? But if you flip a coin 1,000 times, it's probably mostly going to be like close to 50-50 for heads and tails, right? Unless you're like really unlucky. But basically, it's the law of averages, right? The more volume you send, the more that you're going to see the actual true like what the actual true average will be, right? So this is why you have to send enough emails. I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, outbound is a numbers game, right? If you email 1,000 people, maybe only 50 of them are like possibly in market for your solution, right? If that much. So first, it's a numbers game. Especially in B2B sales, a lot of it's timing based, especially like depending on what you sell. But also you just need enough volume to know like what actually works or not, right? Like you have to run tests on your offer, your messaging, and your targeting, and you need to be sending enough to actually complete these tests quickly. Honestly, it's all about experimentation. In my mind, I view marketing as a series of educated guesses. Marketing to me is one big science experiment, right? You come up with a hypothesis, you run an experiment, you read the data, and you adjust based on that. And that's the key to Harvey and I's system here, right? But you need enough volume to actually complete experiments faster. So he who experiments the most wins. So we can move on to copy now? Or do you want to start with...
Start with deliverability.
Yeah, let's go back. So I want to talk about scale first because it's the money model, but now let's go back to the order of importance, right? So email deliverability.
So email deliverability, what's important here is just simply being able to let your prospect read your message, right? No matter how good your offer is, your copy, like how good your personalized data is, it doesn't matter if a prospect doesn't see your email. So email deliverability is how you can make sure you land in the primary inbox and you don't get flagged as spam and people consistently see your message. Now, there's a whole science and technical to how you make sure email deliverability is set up right. But in this SOP down below, we cover the main principle and how we personally do it in our agencies by going through our preferred partner inbox kit to set up the domains and inboxes, because this is something that honestly, we don't recommend anybody setting up in-house and manage.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's excruciating and really boring.
It's excruciating and boring, and if you don't, like if you set it up wrong, somebody's full-time job will be just managing it and course correct it, which I don't recommend at all. You should outsource to a partner, for example, like InboxKit, who just their full-time job, their system, their expertise is getting this set up and done right for you so that you consistently hit the inbox.
Yeah, and if you don't hit the inbox, then nothing else matters, because if you're landing it spam, you're literally talking to yourself, right? Like, when was the last time that you've actually opened up your spam and said, who's been spamming me today? Never, right? Like,
Never.
You don't know.
Unless you're crazy.
Unless you're psychotic, yeah. No one reads their spam, right? So you have to get in the inbox, right? Like, whenever I look at my spam and I see all these people landing in there, I just feel so bad. I'm like, if only you knew, dude, that you're just wasting your time and money. So fix your deliverability. Now, again, back to the way that this workshop is structured in a unique way, we're not going to explain to you all the 20 steps of email deliverability right now. That's really not the best use of your time here, because our SOP covers it and our AI tool will help you with that. But just really know that you have to get it right. And it's about a few things. It's about getting the setup right? Which is why we use InboxKit. It's also about the copy, offer, and list, because one of the biggest things that hurts your email deliverability is user-reported issues, people marking you as spam. So yes, things like spin tax help, things like list cleaning help, but the biggest detriment to landing you in spam jail is when a bunch of grumpy people say, spam, I don't want to hear from this person, right? If you get marked by spam a lot, and the thresholds are not really like that high, they're very, very low, right? It's less than 1%. If you get marked by spam a lot, then that's going to be the biggest negative impact that's going to put you in spam jail, right? And why would someone, so you have to ask yourself, right? Like I'm always thinking from the user's perspective, why would someone mark me as spam? Well, it could be that the copy was too aggressive and salesy. It could be that I emailed them too often. It could be that they're just not the right person. Because if I'm emailing a VP of, if I'm emailing a VP of marketing about a like content marketing SaaS, even if he's not interested, if it's a good message and a good offer, and maybe there's a free thing in there, he's not gonna mark me as spam. He's gonna be like, yeah, well, you know, this is relevant. At least it's relevant. Maybe I'll use this later. But if I sent that same email about the content marketing to like the janitor or like the CFO or the CFO or the HR, they're gonna be like, this idiot can't even email the right person, right? And they're gonna be kind of annoyed that you like wasted their time, right? So when you email the wrong, like people expect to get emailed. They expect to get cold called. They expect to get DM'd on LinkedIn. Like your buyers are not dumb, right? Like they know that this is how it works and they like outbound. I've connected with I've hired great people off outbound, right? Like it's a convenient way to kind of find new providers, right? So people actually like outbound, believe it or not. I know some of you would disagree with me on this, but people like receiving outbound if it's good and if it's relevant. So relevance is really key to making sure that you're not getting marked as spam, and also just having a good offer, right? Like good offer, good lead magnet. Like if you're really reaching someone with a relevant message and it's not salesy, maybe it's even a little bit like humorous, or you give them an insight, or you give them some value, or you give them a free thing. At the very least, they're not gonna mark you as spam, and maybe they'll reply. And at the best case scenario, you're gonna get tons and tons of leads. So again, the SOP will cover your setup, but I'll just tell you a quick story. I remember my first ever cold email client. I remember as clear as the day. I was sitting in a cafe in Hoi An, Vietnam, eating a smoothie bowl. I remember it was a particularly good smoothie bowl. And I had to basically figure out the DNS and DKIM, right? So I'm Googling, I'm like, this is before ChatGPT, back in the day when life was difficult, right? This is before ChatGPT, right? I had to basically Google a DKIM, DMARC. I still don't even know what they stand for, right? It's like, what is it?
Cannot tell you what it stands for.
Let's do a quick pop quiz. Can you No, you don't know.
No. I just call my provider when that happens.
Call Inbox Kit, exactly.
Call Inbox Kit when it happens.
So I'm gonna just to see if I actually remember. I think DKIM is domain keys identification.
No.
Money. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's not money. And then SPF is sender protocol.
Sender mail protocol. So anyway, guys.
DMARC. Wait, what is DMARC?
Domain.
Basically, it doesn't matter. If we've been able to get this far without knowing what the actual words mean and memorizing them, then you can too. But the point is, you have to at least know what they are. What they are is it's a way to authenticate your inboxes and domains. It's a way to basically tell Google like, hey, I'm legit. Because if you send a mass emails and you don't have these DNS records in place, which you usually do in like GoDaddy or Porkbun or whatever, or InboxKit does it for you. If you set up these settings, then it's basically almost like a badge, like a certification badge, and you're authenticating your account. If you don't have it, it's gonna look very spammy, and you're more likely to be put in spam by Gmail or Microsoft Jail, right? So again, you don't need to know what the actual terms are, because I know with marketing there's enough acronyms, but you just need to know that you need to do them and that they're important and that they authenticate you. But again, I remember being in that cafe eating my smoothie bowl, I was Googling what the heck all this means and reading Google articles that are just so long, so dense, so boring. I was more confused after I read them than before I read them. And anyways, I go into GoDaddy, I buy 100 inboxes, every single inbox, one by one, I'm copying and pasting. I felt like just like a robot by the end of it, right? I was like, why was I put on earth to set DNS records?
It's how.
Right? It's terrible. And it took me like all day. And while I'm in like a nice, beautiful cafe in Vietnam and there's beaches around, I'm sitting there just like copying and pasting. So thank God for vendors like InboxKit who just do it all for you and they plug it into your instantly and they save you half the money because you don't actually have to pay more for them because they also get you a reseller fee so that you get a reduced rate. So if you use a reseller, you basically can pay half as much. If you're spending a lot of inboxes now, you can save 50%. Instead of buying it directly from Google and Microsoft, you use a partner like InboxKit and they save you money and do it for you. So anyways, enough said about that. Let's talk about prospects and ICP. So maybe we talk about ICP mapping first and research. Hey, real quick. If you're watching these videos because you're trying to learn how to start or scale your marketing campaigns and get more calls on the calendar, maybe you just want us to actually do this for you. That's exactly what we do. We've helped over 400 B2B companies scale their pipeline, scale their revenue, and scale their business. And we do this through a combination of outbound as well as layering in video, paid ads, and inbound. So if you'd like to see how we can help you, you can book a free go-to-market planning session below. We'll actually create a strategy for you completely free and just see if you want us to help implement it. So if you'd like to have us build this whole thing end-to-end for you, click the link in the description, book a quick call, and let's see if we can help you out.
So getting into the ICP mapping here, ideal customer persona. Now, how we usually look at this, and most of you talking and watching these courses today, you probably have something already mapped in place, right? Who do you want to talk to? Who do you want to keep working with? Who is your best customers? Now, you want to note that very detailed down, right? Like which industry they're from, what company size, location, the job title that you're talking with, and have that all detailed and walk this through. And in the form that we have with the launch toolkit, it has all the questionnaires so you can answer and nail this down. But if you don't have a clear idea of who you're going after, then obviously the list will be very broad. You'll reach people that don't need your product, and basically you're sending more, you're wasting money dollars, right? And a good thing that I usually tell my client, if they don't have this clear map, is that look at your past 90 days of deals that you close. Who do you like working with the most? Who was the most profitable? And what was the pattern in what they said, what their industry, where they're from, and you can nail that down. And with AI, actually, if you upload a list of that AI into like Claude or something, it'll tell you the pattern of those industries and give you this ICP mapping, right? So again, the launch toolkit has all the questionnaire that if you just fill it out, you understand very clear. And then afterwards, you have an ICP mapping. You'll know where to go, build your lead list. You'll know how to enrich for signals, which is the signs that shows when they want to buy a solution like yours and when they not want to buy a solution like yours. There's negative signals where people don't need products that you're selling right now, right?
So I love that, dude. One thing I want to just double click on with ICP mapping is this is where you get the most leverage in the process, right? So, I've always been fascinated by why we could run the same playbooks for some clients and they just absolutely blow up like that story before where they Forex their business. And some could have the same campaign and it's like very little results and it takes a lot more time to scale, right? So a lot of times it's the ICP definition. The clearer our clients are on their perfect fit client and also picking the right market segments that their offer is valued by the most, like that right like product market fit as well as the message market match. This is where the leverage is, right? So whenever we've had a client who was getting low results and then we've just changed it overnight, it was usually because of a broader strategic change. It wasn't a copy tweak. It was usually changing who we're targeting or changing the offer to those people or changing how we're positioning the offer to those person, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're selling accounting services, right? Some of you watching this probably have services that you could sell to everybody in the world. And that's like kind of a good thing, but it's also kind of a difficult thing because it's like, where do I start? If you just reach out to everyone and say, I have accounting services, then you're gonna sound like every other Joe Schmo who has an accounting firm, right? You wanna really laser in on like, what are my best fit clients, right? And back to offer positioning, let's say that you do accounting. Let's say you're selling accounting services and you're not getting results by offering bookkeeping. Well, again, you could position your offer in a different way to the same market. So what if you went to the same founders? What if you were still targeting small business owners, but instead of saying it's bookkeeping, you're saying, hey,
restaurant owners, books, accountants for messy.
Exactly. So, hey, you have a restaurant. A lot of restaurants have messy books because of all the online payments and all the different food ordering apps they're using. So we specialize in that problem. So see, it's like when we talk about offer, like I'm not just talking about what you're actually selling. It's how you position that to the prospect. It's their perception of your offer, right? So that's positioning. So you could take the same offer, but you could position it to a different person in a unique way and have it be much more interesting, right? And again, you could even take accounting services and find companies who are about to get acquired, like maybe companies that like 5 to 10 million a year, very often to get acquired, especially if they're service businesses. You could even probably see if they might be heading that way, if they're hiring fast or whatever. And you could say, hey, you might be up for an acquisition soon. I don't know if you have any plans to exit, but we specialize in helping business owners clean up their books before they exit so that they can get a higher valuation. See how you could take like a boring offer that might be like very static and still actually position it in different ways? Or you could just come up with new offers, new lead magnets, but this is where the leverage is, right? It's thinking about your ICP. It's almost like when I'm creating outbound campaigns, it's like I have different ingredients, right? It's like I'm making a cake, right? Different ingredients, like with a cake you have eggs, you have milk, what else do you have? Flour.
sugar.
I haven't made a cake, clearly, but you have your ingredients and then you get the final product. So with your outbound campaigns, the key ingredients are, your targeting, right? Like your ICP, not just like and you can even go within that to not just the companies, but the industries, the company size, right? The characteristics, the traits of a company, right? So you have your ICP, you have your offer, you have your lead magnet, you have your copy, you have your deliverability. These are just all the raw ingredients. And the ICP is so important because, again, when you really laser on the right person in your target market, the right market segment, you could get away with a pretty like straightforward offer and pretty like bland copy. Like, I'm not saying you should do that. You should still try to make all the elements really good because that's where you'll get the most gains. But if you have the true ideal customer nailed, then the rest is a lot easier, right? So it's like targeting first, then offer, and then messaging in terms of order of importance. And as you can see, it kind of all flows downstream from the targeting. A quick story about that. So I know this guy, Corey Quinn, who worked for Scorpion Marketing. And Scorpion Marketing they were doing around 20 million a year when Corey came in as the CMO. And he was telling me like, I came in as a CEO and they had all these different industries. Now, you could still obviously grow a pretty big business if you don't have a niche. But what he did is he analyzed all their clients and he interviewed the staff and he said, who are the best clients, right? And after interviewing them, he found that it was law firms, right? So they went all in on law firms. They said, everybody else, like we're not working with you, we're only gonna work with law firms. Now that's a scary decision if you're already doing 20 million a year to dramatically change the business. But guess what happened? A couple years later, they're doing $150 million a year just doing law firms. Now eventually they added other niches, but they basically put them under different brands, right? So it's almost like think about it like an hourglass, right? I learned this from Qasim Aslam and it always really stuck with me. So hourglass, right? In the beginning, you might want to be broad because you're trying to test, right? Back to testing your niche offer messaging. Then you eventually want to find the one that you want to be specific on, just go deep on that. But then as you keep scaling, you'll eventually max out the market, then you go broad again and kind of build other brands out. But essentially, just by changing the niche, just by really repositioning the offer to a different ICP, he grew the company to 150 million, and I think that's pretty awesome. Now, if you're a new business owner, this is going to be difficult. You're going to have to kind of just like think through this and research and brainstorm and test. But if you have a lot of client data and you haven't done ICP mapping, again, our AI tool below in the toolkit is going to help you with this. So you can put in a lot of data and it's going to help you identify this and make it really easy. Because again, this is a very important decision. But here's a couple of things. Just think about this. Who pays the most? Who stays the longest? Who complains the least? And then also who actually cares about my USP? Meaning, out of everything you do, there's some parts of your service that are unique and very valuable, right? Who actually cares about that, right? So if I have like 10 different markets, but one of them really values the thing that makes me special, that's where you're gonna have the most leverage because they're gonna actually, they're aligned with what makes you great, right? There's more to it. You'll see in the SOP below. Like you also make sure you're going after a niche that has enough TAM. You have to make sure that they have the spending power. You have to make sure that they have an urgent pain point. So if you have all these different industries, think about who feels the pain the most, right? Because you don't want to sell a vitamin, you want to sell a painkiller, right? So out of all the different people you could be working with, who actually has the pain the most frequently or the worst pain? Because it's just much easier to sell to them, right? So yeah, lastly on that, let's talk about the priority order. So this is what I call the circle of TAM. The circle of TAM is you have your dream clients, right? So let's say that this entire circle represents your TAM, right? As in total addressable market, meaning every possible business that could sell you. So back to the accounting services, right? Accounting services, this would be like small businesses, right? So if you could sell to everybody in the world is technically your TAM small businesses. You want to go at least one layer above your TAM, right? You want to at least go for who's like qualified, right? So I call this the minimum qualified lead, right? So, okay, yeah, I could sell accounting to any small businesses, but if our services are $2,000 a month, I need a business doing at least $1 million a year. And also I like it if they already have a bookkeeper because I just want to do the tax strategy. I don't want to do the bookkeeping, right? And I like service-based businesses. So you see how it's like you have all your TAM and then you have like the minimum of like the floor of like what's a good client. So that's bigger, that's more people. But then you have your dream clients, right? Then you follow this client order like we're telling you, and you find out, wow, I just realized that e-commerce businesses doing 50 million a year that sell subscriptions are my best clients because their books are so messy because of so many tongue twisters today. The books are so messy because of the subscription revenue, and I just realized that my e-commerce clients stay for 10 years when everyone else stays for 3 years, right? So that's your dream clients. E-commerce clients, how big? What's the job title? What country are they in, right? So you want to start off with your dream clients, and this is why you want to really take the time to figure it out. And then, of course, you need to scale. You want to go after qualified, and then you don't want to go past qualified because that's when you're just running a pretty tough business at that point. So that's the circle of 10, and that's how you can kind of think through some of these things. So now we have ICP mapping down. We have a couple market segments. Last thing is, do you need to pick one? You don't, because if you serve, like, let's say 10 types of clients, and you find that there's like 3 that you kind of like the most, you don't need to pick one. So just to be clear, there's 2 different levels of niching down, right? I'm not telling you that you need to pick one and focus your entire company around this one niche like Scorpion did when they switched to law firms, right? You can do that, but to me, there's 2 levels of niche. There's campaign level niche, and then there's brand level niche. So brand level niche is, hey, we're changing our company, we're changing our branding, we're gonna go all in on law firms, right? But that's a big decision. You can do that, and eventually you should, but that's not what we're saying today. Campaign level niche is like, before I build an outbound campaign, it has to be targeted to one person, right? Because if I'm trying to target lawyers, doctors, and accountants in one campaign, I'm gonna have to basically dilute my messaging so that it's kind of like generic enough so it sort of appeals to everybody, which means I'm just basically making it like sort of crappy for everybody, right? So when the more people you're trying to appeal to, the more you have to dilute your messaging, which makes it more generic. It makes it more average, right? So if you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. So get really specific on your campaigns. And like you could run outbound for 3 months just targeting law firms, and then the next 3 months you could target restaurants. Like assuming that you're not really clear who your most ideal client is, or you have a couple and you want to kind of keep them all equally, that's fine, but just put them in separate campaigns. So that's how we think through the campaign architecture. And then eventually, if you find one that is really just the best, pays the most, stays the most, complains the least, and cares about your unique value, then you could niche down. But I just wanted to make that distinction because I think it's very, very important. So now we can talk about research and actually build list building.
Yeah. So with research and list building, there's 2 research that I usually approach this, and AJ has a very similar framework too, is that there's research that you do on your market in general and research that you do on what your ICP is understanding, right? So a little bit about the ICP mapping, you're already doing a little bit of that research is what pain they're struggling with. But the research that you do on your market is, how is people solving that pain right now? Are they, one, just living with it? And by the way, all these research point here is also covered in the SOP. It shows you what to research for, the exact prompt that if you just put what you do in the business into that launch toolkit, it will show you the research feedback back. But essentially, if you have the pain the prospect is facing, how they're dealing with that pain today, like is it a solution, a competitor, or are they living with the pain? What is the cost of living with that pain or using a competitor right now? And what is it that they desire that they don't have yet, right? Is it like something that does the job better, cheaper, or faster, or in a way that costs less headache, right? That's something that you have to research so that you know the specific mode in the space that your offer operates, right? How can you stand out from this market? So by doing that research, you'll then be able to figure out which market you're in. Are you in a red ocean market or are you in a blue ocean market? How we think about that is, in a red ocean market, think marketing Facebook ads agencies for e-commerce companies. It's a very competitive offer. Everybody can do it. E-commerce agencies get pitched Facebook ads every day, 30 emails a day of that. And you really need to know that you are in that market so that you make your offer more sophisticated, less risk, so that somebody would want to even try or hear more about what you want to say. But if you're in a blue ocean market where literally nobody is solving that pain point right now, or nobody is doing it the way you are doing it, and all you need to do is just tell people, hey, I'm solving your problem this specific way. I'd love to show you a little bit more. And that kills like really then trying to make anything complicated or a lead magnet. I'll give you an example. One of the clients I used to work on had a software which is a affordable housing certification automation software, and specifically targeting the Section 8 housing and affordable housing in America. Nobody was doing it like that, and the message that we worked for them was very simple. Hey, we help property teams automate income certification so that you don't have to do this manually. Would it be worth me showing you how this is possible? And we've gone 20% positive reply rate, and just from that single message, we run 6 months. Within 3 months, they've closed $1.2 million in contract value yearly because this simple message. Like nobody was doing what they're doing. Nobody does that product. So depending on how like saturated your market is, you'll have to have a different offer. But then the research drives what kind of offer you'll need to create. So again, AJ, if you want to add on top of that, but again, everything is down below in the launch kit to how you actually do this research.
Yeah, so you guys are gonna love our AI tool for this. Again, all these tools we built for ourselves initially, right? So I like what you said about how the research informs the offer, because in that example you gave where you had those amazing results, like 20% is insane, right? You didn't, like that copy you shared, you didn't have any fancy copy, you didn't have any like award-winning copy.
The funny thing is, I thought that 20 minutes before I met the client, I was like, I needed a copy. I haven't prepped for it. It's an onboarding call. I should come up with something. I'm like, oh, you know what? Just from looking at this, I mean, nobody's doing this. Okay, that's it, and it worked.
That's amazing, right? It's just simple and direct because no one's doing this. So that's why research. Honestly, copywriting is like 90% research, right? 90%. And really, marketing strategy is as well. So yeah, like because you found the right pocket of the market and you found an insight through research, you didn't need to have very creative copy. You didn't need to have any emotional manipulation or long sales letters. You just had to say, I have this thing, right? So it's kind of like, it makes me think about like Art of War and that type of stuff, right? It's like positioning, this is positioning, right? You're trying to find the best, like you're trying to like create an advantage for yourself, right? And put the conditions in your favor. So when you're playing in the right market in a blue ocean, you're putting the conditions in your favor to win, right? It's kind of like, let's say you're playing basketball. Let's say I told you to play basketball and you had to win a game, I'll give you 20 bucks. But on one hand, you can either play my little nephew, or on the other hand, you can play Michael Jordan. Obviously, you're gonna play my little nephew and you're gonna dunk on him, right? So you're gonna play the easier game. So when you get your offer and your targeting and your research right, you're basically making the game easier to win. And you don't, because like if you're in a really red ocean, you gotta try very hard on the copy, the lead magnets, the creativity, and you can do that, but like that's a lot more work. So this is where the leverage is. So down below in the SOP and launch toolkit, we will show you like where we like to get data, our favorite tools, our favorite workflows, and everything's gonna be there, because I know you guys are probably wondering, how do I build lists? Give me the tools, AJ. But this is more important for the videos. We wanna actually show you the frameworks, because ultimately, I think a lot of people obsess over tools, right? And tips, and especially now with AI, give me the latest AI tool, right? How many of you guys have AI tools that you've bought that never even used, right? It's not about tools. Tools are just execution of tactics, right? Tactics don't create transformation. Strategy and principles create transformation. So that's why we like showing you frameworks and mental models like this, because the tools are just a way to carry that out, right? So there'll be more on that below. And
one quick note I want to add on that. That's why you also need to do the ICP mapping really carefully as well, because for the same offer, for different people, could be a blue ocean or a red ocean, right? Because
exactly, like the example before.
Accountant for like, let's say e-commerce company, or like say Facebook ads for e-commerce company, very red ocean. But Facebook ads for local-based businesses, mom and pop shop, is a way less saturated niche where people are way less likely to reply to you, right? Same message, more result. So that's why it's important.
Yeah, and I had one client actually. So we had this one client that sells a tech platform for real estate appraisers to help them get more real estate appraisal jobs. Right? I was like, never even heard of this before. Very specific niche. I was like, dude, you got to hire us, because I guarantee we'll crush this for you, because nobody else in your industry is going to be. If there's even other companies like you, which I guarantee there's very few, they're not going to be doing sophisticated cold email campaigns like this, right? So we scraped an industry-specific database. Instead of using Apollo or Clay, which we use as well, we went to an industry-specific database. We scraped real estate appraisal directories, and we just reached out with the right offer. But here's what we did. The research informs the copy, right? Because I didn't know what a real estate appraiser is like. I don't know what I don't know any. I don't know what they think. I don't know what they say. I don't know what their pain points are. So I met with the client. I went through my interview process to really understand, like, tell me about these people. What's the language they use, right? One quick pro tip is use industry-specific language, and you can ask our AI tool for this, right? And you can also ask Claude, like, just say, like, hey, here's my ICP, here's their industry. Give me a couple of insider jargon. So we have a client right now that's targeting the medical space, and we've learned that it's very important that we use industry jargon and terms, because if you don't use those terms, right? People feel like you're an outsider, but if you use those terms, they feel like, this guy or girl gets me. They understand my business, right? So one of the best things you can do is just find very little quirks about your industry, specific language that only they would know, and that builds a lot of credibility and authority, right? So the research helps inform the copy. So for this appraisal client, the copy had little industry terminology. We knew their pain points. We had good data, and we got 50 book calls in the first month. So much that they actually fired my agency, because Steve calls me and he says, AJ, we're booked 3 weeks out. You're doing a great job. I promise that I will just hire some salespeople, then I'll hire you back in 2 months. He never did. I don't know what happened. But yeah.
That's what happened with the
yeah,
company too. Like,
we're doing too good of a job. These people are firing us. Yeah.
We got too much leads. Like, we can't grow our business fast enough.
Yeah.
We need to fire you.
Looking back, I should just offered him like a managed sales team service or something. But yeah, so see, when you get the research and the targeting and the offer right, a lot of it's way easier. So let's go on to offer. Hey, real quick, if you're a founder or a sales and marketing lead at a B2B company and you'd like to get more qualified calls booked on your calendar, maybe an extra 20, 50, 100 qualified booked calls on your sales team's calendar every single month, then you should learn about what we do at Revenue Boost, because we've helped over 400 B2B companies get revenue on demand and scale their pipeline primarily through outbound, as well as layering in inbound and paid ads. So if you'd like to see what we do, you can book a 30-minute call in the description for a free go-to-market planning session. There's no pitch really, it's just a call to see if we can help. And we'll actually look at your market, your offer, your messaging, your competition, and we'll tell you exactly how we would scale your business and get more leads on the calendar. So if that sounds good, book a call below, and back to the video.
Yeah, so the offer here, again, once you do all the research, then you know what's the biggest pain point that people are facing, how are they dealing with that pain point right now, and then how does your offer remove that pain point, right? Yeah, so when it comes to the offer, right, it's very basically defined as how do you position what you sell in the problem that you serve and you solve, and what exactly goes into how do people benefit from it, right? So AJ here with the whiteboard will break down exactly what the suite of offer that you need to have in your customer journey, because it all works together in one, and when to use what kind of offer. So panning to the whiteboard here.
Yeah, so as Harvey explained, your business, every business needs a suite of offers, right? You probably have of course you have your core offer, which is the thing you sell, like your main service and the terms of that agreement and how you position it, which again, you can have just one offer, but you can position it different ways, right? So you can be creative with one offer. Maybe you have a couple offers, maybe you have a few different services or a few different tiers, but that's your core offer, right? So if you look on the diagram here, you'll see that every business has two types of offers. You have an acquisition offer or a profit offer. Your acquisition offer is basically just about getting you clients for your profit offers, right? So your core offer, your main service, makes your business money. And then you upsell them and you get retention, right? So you have an upsell offer, you have a retention offer, that makes your business more money. This is actually where you get the most profit maximization, because you're far out of, you've already recouped your customer acquisition cost, right? So with that said, acquisition offer is free thing, low ticket offer, which is to liquidate your marketing cost. And then you have your core offer, then you have your upsells and your retention, right? So a lot of people also call this the value ladder or the customer journey, and this is my version of it. But you have acquisition or profit offer, right? So now what a lot of people don't tell you online, right? What's kind of missing from a lot of the training out there around offers is when do you build what we each offer and for what purpose, right? So the two offers that we help our clients optimize first is their core offer, their main service, and we make them more attractive and better positioned, right? We do the research and the ICP mapping. And then the free thing, lead magnet, right? So you might have seen these diagrams before where people have this whole complex customer journey, but what they don't tell you is that if you try to build all that at once, or if you try to do it in the wrong order, remember we talked about sequencing earlier, right? Then you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of money, right? For example, a lot of people when they're starting marketing, they try to build a low ticket offer, a $100 thing, because they think everyone else, oh, my competitor has a $100 thing or a $20 thing or an ebook or something, I should have one too. Wrong. What is the purpose of a low ticket offer? The purpose of a low ticket offer is scale, and it's really to liquidate your ad spend. So if you're doing $10 million a year and you're spending a couple million on marketing, outbound paid ads, and you're seeing that your margins are shrinking, right? Your customer acquisition cost is going up. Now you would introduce a low ticket as a way to get more qualified leads through the funnel, because as you scale your marketing, you start to get less and less qualified leads because you've exhausted your warm pockets, right? And then also your costs are going up because as you spend more on paid media, especially with Meta, your profitability will tend to go down because again, you're exhausting the warm leads already, right? So it's kind of a way to balance your P&L and to make your ads stay profitable, as well as attract other, very qualified buyers, because when someone buys a $100 thing, they're going to be very qualified because they're already serious, right? They already have the problem if they spend money on it. So it gives you that way you can sell to buyers rather than just selling to leads. But again, you don't want to do this first. Building a low ticket takes a lot of marketing, a lot of testing, a lot of spend, and you don't need it if you're just starting out. You're going to overcomplicate the heck out of it. So my process is back to the phases of the value ladder. Is core offer first, you already have that, but now let's optimize it. Then you need a free thing, because if your core offer is your profit offer, but you want an acquisition offer that is just meant to be a magnet. That's why they call it a lead magnet, right? Free thing. And then lastly, you want your profit maximization, which is a way of basically getting your existing customers to either spend more with you or spend more often and buy something else. I mean, that's pretty much part of spend more with you, right? So it's either get your customers to spend more with you or to stay longer. Essentially making your customers worth more. And getting them to spend more with you could be the frequency of transactions, or it could be the amount of transactions, right? So increasing your deal size, getting them to buy more often, getting them to buy other stuff. So there's 3 ways you can get a customer to spend more. And then also you just want to get them to stay more as well. So that's the retention offer. So if you don't already have an offer for that, you could build that out next. I typically, in my business, I go core offer first, then I build the free one, then I build the retention offer because you're already going to have clients that you can upsell. And then the low ticket is the last one. So yeah, that's the order of building out your value ladder. Now, let's talk about how it pertains to outbound. So for outbound, remember we talked earlier about how when you start to scale your business and if you're just relying on referrals and inbound leads now, and you start to go to cold traffic like outbound or ads, right, eventually, you're going to be in for a little bit of a rude awakening, because you're going to see that your sales process has all these cracks, all these things missing that you didn't need because you were only selling to people who already trusted you already, right? So that's why a lead magnet has a lot of value. Because a lead magnet not only will be more, so lead magnet is part of what I call cold traffic preparation, getting your business ready for cold traffic and strangers, right? Really looking at your sales process with fresh eyes. So a lead magnet is one of the parts of that, and it will attract more people. So it'll help you get more leads, but it'll also help you get the right leads, because you can make a lead magnet that's like specifically designed to attract the right person. This is a good example of how like your offer is your targeting, your messaging is your targeting, right? Because you're really just trying to put signals out that attract the right people. So the free thing is also a way to, again, qualify people, bring more people in, and yeah, what else would you say about where the lead magnet fits into the outbound process? So, sorry, real quick. The last thing I was going to say was it's also meant to build trust, right? Because again, when you're going to cold traffic, you now have a trust problem. People don't know you. So the lead magnet is a way to give them value before they hop on a call to buy your expensive thing, right? So one of the best lessons I've learned in sales is showing, not telling. When I used to work at the painting company, we had this app like 10 years ago where I would take a picture of a customer's house and it would show them it in different colors, and they freaking loved that. They would be playing with that. They'd be showing their kids, showing their wife, because now they could see the products. So I didn't have to give them this long sales pitch, because I could just say, here's what it's going to look like. So you always want to, and this is why SaaS companies do demos, right? So the other problem too is right now, as we're filming this, we're living in a trust recession, right? You might have heard this word before as well. Like buyers are very, very skeptical. People have been scammed. People have been burned. And now with AI, like that's coming 10 times, because now everyone's an AI guru. Everyone's a marketing guru, right? So your customers have probably been burned before, and it's happening more and more ever, right? And they don't trust online marketing anymore, right? Like it used to be all about direct response in a lot of ways, and now it's more about trust, right? How can you build trust, right? So you can use outbound, which is a direct response, to still deliver and build trust. And sales is all about trust. Without trust, no sale can happen. It's impossible. You would never buy something from someone if you thought they were a scam artist, right? Like you never would. So a lead magnet is a way to manufacture trust, increase quality of leads, and get more leads and more of the right ones. Because they're going to actually try the free thing. They're going to get value. So make it good. Don't just make a quick PDF because you need to check a box. Because if you give someone a crappy lead magnet, then they're going to be less likely to buy from you. And then they're going to probably tell their friends like, oh yeah, I downloaded his PDF and it completely sucked, right? So make it good. It'll build trust, and that'll solve the trust problem. And then you'll deal with warm leads. So earlier I mentioned you want to get your leads in a buying state before the call. And you can actually use outbound, which is a cold method, to get warmer leads. So this is how.
And again, the significance of this free lead magnet and your offer, the bigger, the more saturated the market, right? If you're in a red ocean market, you're in a blue ocean market. If you're in a red ocean market, the lead magnet quality and your offer quality needs to be way more valuable.
Because you got to stand out.
Because you got to stand out. Because let me know if this sounds familiar. Hey, we'll guarantee 30 book calls or your money back, right? Or hey, we'll guarantee 100 leads within your first 2 days, or else you don't pay for anything, right? That sounds familiar to you? Well, anybody can say that in the space, and you have to have a way that shows value that is like clearly no risk for people, and they can instantly see what you have to offer is valuable to them.
Dude,
right?
I love that. Sorry, you were saying something else?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to say, just one point I want to harp on is I love that you mentioned that the difference in markets. So this is why strategy is so important, right? So in your example before, because you found this product that nobody else was doing, you didn't need to have a lead magnet. You just need to say, we sell this thing, do you want it, right? So if you're in a blue ocean, which means a low competition market where people aren't hearing a lot of other claims like this, then you could just get direct to the offer, simple copy. But when you're in a competitive market, like if you're selling Facebook ads to e-commerce, first of all, God help you, it's tough. But if you're in a very competitive market, you can't just say the same claims everyone else says, right? Like we're in a competitive market, right? So we have to be very creative, right? That's why we're doing things like this and giving tons of free value, right? We have to be more creative in our marketing and find ways to build trust, right? So with that said, lead magnets are one way, USP and messaging is another way, offer positioning is another way, right? But you basically need to kind of like try harder to stand out. So yeah, essentially, the more competitive the market, the more you're going to have to be creative with your offer, your lead magnet, and your messaging. If you're in a blue ocean, which means you have great product market fit, there's not a lot of other people doing what you're doing, you can just say the offer and keep it pretty direct, simple copy, right? In fact, that's actually gonna be better than giving away free stuff because people are just gonna want to buy your thing. And it's honestly like, it's worth studying the, just Google market sophistication and understanding like what market you're in. Again, our tool will help you with this as well. So you just put in your business information and it'll help you out. But ultimately, like there's different levels of marketing, right? So claim-based marketing is kind of the laziest marketing and it's the easiest, right? So everyone does it, right? Making an offer and saying like, oh, I'll get you 30 appointments a month or whatever, and you don't pay, right? Like at first, when no one was doing that, that worked because it was like a strong guarantee. It was a good offer. It's low risk, right? But then everyone started doing it, so now everyone's hearing these claims. And when all of your customers are hearing the same thing, they just tune it out. It's just white noise, right? You don't want to just be blending in, right? Because here's the thing, your customers you're not just competing for your customers' attention. Like marketing is about a game of attention, right? You're not just competing for your customers' attention with your competitors. You're competing with everything. Their Slack messages, their emails, their wife knocking on their office door, right? The mailman coming, everything, right? Netflix, TikTok, everything. So you have to really catch their attention. So if the offer sells itself, just give them the offer. But if you're in a competitive niche, you have to really make sure what is everyone else doing and how can I position myself against that. And honestly, this is where marketing gets harder, right? So it's really easy if you're in a blue ocean, which is why you want to be in one. It's easy to make a claim, right? But if you can actually sell your offer without a claim, without a guarantee, without some crazy offer, then it takes more skill, but that's also where you're going to win. So you're taking the road less traveled. You want to talk about what the types of lead magnets are?
Yeah, and then real quick on that note, that's also why the research, the ICP, and the offer all plays together, because then again, you find a specific space inside your ICP that you research is like, oh, my offer is very common this one, but it's not common at all in this ICP. I also make money a lot to that. And then literally your marketing shifts to that. You say 3 sentences, people will still want to have a call with you. That's freedom. Yeah, I love campaigns like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like guys, in the comments below, if you're watching this on YouTube, after you use our AI toolkit and it helps you identify your ICPs and your niche and all of that, comment below what you believe your blue ocean is, right? Think about what your offer could your lead magnet be. You could share it below in the comments and we'll give you feedback on it. And you could also just reach out to us on social media or
or feel free to LinkedIn DM us if you want to keep your blue ocean market, secret.
Exactly. Yeah.
Of course, you don't want to share what your strategy is.
You're gonna find the gold for sure. Awesome. So number 5 is actually, hold on a second. So we're talking about what are the 2 types of lead magnets?
And then 2 types of lead magnet.
Yeah. I'll do that.
So yeah, you do that.
So now you're probably wondering, how do you build one? Well, good news for you. Our toolkit down below is gonna help you with that. But real quick, just know that there's two types of lead magnets. To me, there's the custom lead magnets, and then there's the automated lead magnets. Custom is like, well, let's say for my business, right? Let's say we build you a free campaign, or we create you a strategy, right? If you're a SaaS company, you can do like some sort of analysis, right? Like we have a client that does content marketing, and they do an SEO analysis. So custom meaning that it's different for each prospect, and it takes you time, right? Automated is like a digital thing, like a course like this, or a workshop, or a PDF, or a template, or a spreadsheet, or using, like if you're using an AI to make one, then that's a
it's like a hybrid between a custom, but then there's a very good automated one.
Well, that's the third one. Yeah, so we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, so the automated ones, again, back to barrier to entry. Everybody can go into AI and make an ebook now. So now those PDFs, like, people are just filtering them out. They're less interested in PDFs now and ebooks, because it's like there's a lot of AI slop out there, right? So going forward, like these custom lead magnets, I've been doing them for a couple of years, and they've been the absolute best. And now people start talking about them now, but they're going to be even more important in the future, because again, like AI cannot do that. And the custom lead magnets are better because when you're spending, like if I'm gonna, like, so one of our clients is an ad agency, so they're giving free creatives, 2 free creatives, and they're doing a competitive analysis to look at their competitors' ad spend. So basically, you hop on a call with them, you get a couple of sample ads, you get a competitive analysis to see where the opportunities are. That's gonna help them sell you, and then also you're gonna know that they're actually good at what they're doing, right? So the value, I recommend all of you guys do custom lead magnets. The value of it, other than the fact that it's more perceived value, so more people will actually want it and become leads, the bigger value is you're actually forcing the sales process, right? And you're disguising the sales process. This is one of the best things I learned from Perry Belcher, who's one of the most brilliant marketers out there, is to disguise the sales process. So this is why like advertorials were a thing back in the old internet marketing days. You know, like all these different ways of like selling things where you don't feel like you're being sold. When people feel like they're being sold, they don't want to buy. Their guard is up, right? Again, that's why advertorials were a really big thing if you've been around internet marketing for a while. So a lead magnet disguises the sales process, because let's say that I'm a marketing agency. Well, I am. Well, not me, but have one. But for my marketing agency, I could either say, hey, come hop on a call and we can talk about our pricing. And people will still do that if they like our work, right? But if I say, hey, hop on a call and I'm gonna build you a free campaign and I'm gonna help you identify your blue ocean niche. That's a free service, right? Then two things happen. First of all, I'm getting my lead to actually book a call, because if you give someone a PDF or an automated lead magnet, they might just take it and then not book a call. So the whole strategy here is that you're delivering them the lead magnet over a call. You are not sending it to them, right? So it basically ensures that your lead converts to an appointment and goes one step down the funnel. The second thing is you're disguising the sales process, because let's say I'm giving you an audit or an analysis or a strategy, right? It's like you're coming on the call to get value and to get free advice, and you are, so it's a win-win. But also, while I'm doing that, it's pretty much a sales call, because with my clients anyway on a sales call, we're still doing like some free advice and strategy on it, right? But they're not feeling like it's a sales call, so they're gonna be more open, right? And then also, as I analyze their business and do their strategy, I'm figuring out like everything I need to do to sell them, because then I can give them a free strategy and I can say, here's the thing, you're welcome to just use it on your own and run with it. Or you can hire us to do this, because it's gonna be a lot of friggin' work to do, right? So it makes it really easy to then sell the next step. And then they have so much trust because they've seen your work. Remember, it's about showing, not telling. So yeah, I'm really, really bullish on this. The custom lead magnets are an absolute ninja strategy. And also guys, when you use our AI tool, it's gonna give you ideas for lead magnets based on our frameworks, based on our system, based on our previous client results. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel so much. And yeah, definitely try that as well and let us know what you come up with. So you wanna go on to copy?
Yep. So when getting into the copy here, if you do your ICP research right, you do your research right, you have your core offer sexy, then the copy writes itself, right? Because like, let's take it back to that SaaS example. Because nobody is doing it in the market, literally it was 3 sentences. Hey, we do this, we help solve this problem. Would you like to talk? Literally 3 sentences, 75 words, best winning campaign. Never changed any wording, anything for 6 months straight. They had to fire us because they get too many leads.
It always happens. What's wrong? What are we doing wrong?
So that's where, okay, depending on the research that the offer that we created, that guy should copy. It's just simply, hey, we do this, right? But if you're finding yourself in a more saturated niche, which I assume 70-80% of you guys watching out there is because you want to win, going cold, we'll need to, again, what you create in the offer dictates also the copy. Because if you have a really good custom lead magnet offer here, so let's say, for example, going to AJ's ad agency example, right? We build your free creative and analyze your competitors' strategy on how you can get more sales. That's literally what you can put inside the copy. Hey, I saw, and AJ can, again, I'm probably guessing AJ's copy here, but so you can say something like, hey, I saw that you're selling sneakers. I've analyzed, I'd like to give you 2 free ad stickers for sneaker brands. I've analyzed, Gymshark sneakers brands on how they're running a winning strategy. Can I show it to you in a quick 20-minute call, right? Obviously, AJ has a different copy here, but this is something that, because you have a really good custom lead magnet, it writes itself. You just need to tell you what that offer is and what you can do for people, right? AJ, you want to add to that?
Dude, that was very well said. I think I've made the mistake before of doing too much personalization, too much creative copywriting backflips when my offer was just good. If the offer and the lead magnet are really good, just lean on it, make that the centerpiece, and don't try to be too creative and what's the expression? Too smart for your own good, right?
Yeah, no, don't try to be too smart. Like the only time, like for example, when I was writing, there was a time when I sent 20,000 emails without AI, so I couldn't tell which was the relevant.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you don't know what actually worked.
Yeah. Then I had to like backflips in my copy. I did like 5 jokes, 4 analogies. I wrote about Frank Sinatra in my email 3, which actually got great results. It should be in my my Hall of Fame.
Wait, what did you say? What did you say, real quick?
So I'll attach that template here because it's funny. But I basically in my email 3, I gave, hey, I don't want to be your annoying cousin. So here's 4 ways you can end this email off. Number 1, hey, you just haven't gotten to the right time and now you're seeing it. Let's book a call. Option 2 is like, hey, you ghost me like my last girlfriend did with me. That's no problem. I understand. Maybe one day we'll think about each other. And I'll put on some Frank Sinatra and keep moving on in my life. Option 3, you tell me, gosh damn man, go hug some trees, get out of my inbox, and leave me alone. Most heartbreaking, but I understand. And option 4 is like you're
Dude, that's great.
Yeah, it's like you're so amazed by this crazy Hail Mary of attempt to try to get your attention. You're like, okay, this guy can do my marketing. And this actually works. It booked 9-figure companies on the call, actually.
Well, that was a pattern. A 9-figure company, that's amazing.
Yeah. We booked like a 9-figure, it's basically the Walmart of Australia and South Africa on those calls because of that one email. And the guy was literally, he felt like, man, this is so human. He told me like he was like hospitalized because of something. He started to tell me his backstories in this email reply back.
Wow.
And it was funny. We didn't, the deals didn't close, but like we got a really good like relationship, all that. But it's just like, but I had to do all those things because we didn't have a good offer. We didn't have AI to really nail down like the research and ISP and how we can make it all relevant to someone. So we had to do all these like hoops jump-ins, right? But really, most of the time you don't need to do that. You just need to create a really good offer. But obviously, down below we have, again, not getting into deep
examples. We have a couple of real examples.
Real examples, frameworks that you can follow, and like how do you organize copy materials? Like what case studies you have to work with? What is your offer? The pain points that you serve, and how do you organize that into a copy? Because copy really is organizing the best points into something that a real human likes to read and would reply to, and not like some wizardry that like, oh, you got to come up with something, right?
I like that because because I feel like if some people may think I'm not a good copywriter, I'm not creative, but it really is organizing. It's really like it's really doing research, taking stock of what you have, your strengths, right? Looking at the competitors, and you're just like assembling the right pieces in the right way. Obviously, there's an art to it, and there's like getting good at writing, but honestly, guys, our tool is going to write it for you. So again, it's completely free, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. So hope you guys enjoy that. Hey, real quick, if you're watching these videos because you're trying to learn how to start or scale your marketing campaigns and get more calls on the calendar, maybe you just want us to actually do this for you. That's exactly what we do. We've helped over 400 B2B companies scale their pipeline, scale their revenue, and scale their business. And we do this through a combination of outbound as well as layering in video, paid ads, and inbound. So if you'd like to see how we can help you, you can book a free go-to-market planning session below. We'll actually create a strategy for you completely free and just see if you want us to help implement it. So if you'd like to have us build this whole thing end-to-end for you, click the link in the description, book a quick call, and let's see if we can help you out. So other copy principles, I'm trying to think of the most important things to share for now. Well, you mentioned it's human, right? So let's talk about the tone real quick. Should be short. I typically keep it under 100 words maximum. Once in a while, we will experiment with long copy. So all the rules we're giving you, you guys can break them, but use them first, but then break them later. Like learn the rules and then try to innovate on your own after the fact, right? So for example, like in some niches, we found that like we got a client a really good booked call recently, and we had this like bullet points of the features of the product, which normally is like most copywriters would like throw up at that, right? But in their niche, it just worked, and we don't know why it did, but it did. And honestly, we don't need to know why. We just need to know that it worked, right? I mean, I believe it worked because like their product has many different features that could be very valuable to different ICPs. So I believe that's why it worked. But anyways, it doesn't matter. The data says it works, so we're gonna keep doing that. So back to like long copy for short copy, I like to keep it usually under 75 words, 100 words maximum. But once in a while, we'll test a long one if we need to change things up. And also, it should be human. So it should be short. It should be human, meaning it shouldn't read like a robot, right? It shouldn't read like a Zuckerberg, right? Yeah. Quick tip is read it out loud. Read your copy out loud. And if it sounds awkward, or like if you wouldn't say that to a friend or to a family member, do not say it to your prospect. Because there's an energy of words, right? Like when you write something to someone, whether it's on a screen or it's in person, like there's an energy to it, right? Like you've probably seen this. If you probably read an ad or something or an email where it feels like this person is just trying to get my money. Like they just want to sell their thing, right? And not even just from the words, but from the energy and the tone of the word, because you're kind of transmitting your thoughts through and like you're feeling at the time, like through the words, right? Mm-hmm. So basically like, yeah, it has to really feel human. So this is part of like the skill of like practice of copywriting, right? And obviously if you're working with an agency, they're going to do it for you. But again, in the meantime, like the tool will help you out, but I do recommend you also like practice it and kind of get the writing down, because it's honestly like everything in the world is sold through words. Everything, mm-hmm. Online, offline, it all starts with reading words, right? Or watching something, which is still based on words, like you're hearing words. So it's honestly one of the most valuable skills for all of business and marketing. But definitely like get practice with it, and the more you do it, the better you'll be able to kind of write like you talk. That's the goal, write like you talk. Read it out loud as a quality control checkpoint. And also you can just put your copy in our tool and say, hey, make this sound more human, make it sound more casual, and it'll do it for you, right? So on the tone, it's short and simple, it's human, and also so it has to be, every word has to be intentional. So here's a good framework for copywriting. Everything in your email, let's say your email is 100 words. If you can communicate the same point with 90 words, then those 10 words are fluff. You got to kill all the fluff, right? So analyze every single word and say, like, does this word need to be, or does this phrase need to be, or could I say this in half the time? Because if you can, you should, right? Because this is the thing. Email is a little bit different than other marketing channels. Like I always think about the mind of the consumer and the medium they're in, right? So if someone's on Facebook and you serve them a Facebook video ad, they're sitting there, they're messing around, they're like sitting there eating potato chips, and they have time to watch your 10-minute ad, right? When someone's in their email, think about you. When you're in your email, like when do you go to your email in the morning? Think about it. You do it in the morning when you're going to work. Like for me, my email is like a place to get in there and just like get the hell out, right? Like I'm getting in my email, I'm trying to clear it out with the most important things, and then I'm trying to get onto my real work, right? So I'm not opening my email saying, ooh, I can't wait to read some sales emails today, right? So basically knowing that, keep your email short, respect your prospect's time, right? Make it, and they're gonna skim it. And also most emails, almost 100%, it's like 90% plus nowadays, are read on mobile, right? So if it's long, they're gonna have to scroll, you're already dead in the water. So short, sweet, because you don't want them skimming. If it's long, people skim. Especially people skim emails because they're busy. And if someone skims your message, they're not getting the whole message, right? You put every word there for a reason. You crafted every word for a reason. You crafted like to take them on a journey. So if it's short, they're more likely to read the whole thing, because no one's gonna skim a 2-sentence paragraph. That's just like stupid, right? Like no one would do that. So make it so short that they just have to read it. So short, simple, human. And honestly, like let me rephrase that. It's not just about it being short. Like shorter tends to work better, but it's more about it being intentional. Because if you have 100 words, but they're all the right words to sell your product and make the offer, then keep them. Just get rid of the fluff.
It's interesting on that point, right? Just to expand on AJ's framework here, short, concise, intentional, but also you need to also make it relevant, which you do through your research and your ICP.
And always keep the ICP in mind while you're writing, and just think, like, does this make perfect sense to them and nobody else? That's the right frame.
Because you have different copy for each different ICP and each different offer that you run. You can't use one for the same thing. And when you write copy, the only filter that tells you whether or not it's a great copy is whether or not it gets result, right?
Yeah.
There's clients that we work with that's like, no, this is like, we need copy to be this way, we need it to sound this way.
Yeah.
The market don't care.
Exactly.
The market don't care. I've had copy that I think was, man, I have Leonardo da Vinci of the writing world. I'm like, my brain just poured onto this, and it flops. Like it got no results. But I've had copy that I spent 10 minutes on. I'm like, okay, I mean, whatever, right? It blows up. It grates.
It's funny. It's funny how that works.
So,
but yeah, don't overcomplicate it.
Don't overcomplicate it.
But yeah, if you are in a more competitive market, that's when you are going to have to really like be a little more creative with the copy, or at least lean on a good offer and lead magnet, which is usually better. So yeah, on copy, there's a lot of examples below. You're going to see real successful emails in the SOP below in the toolkit, and we're going to help you write one with the AI tool. But also, like, if you actually on my YouTube channel, I have a series called Roast My Copy, where I take a random cold email and I just rate it and review it and tell you why it's bad or tell you why it's good. So if you want to like see more examples, like definitely check that out. But yeah, loads of examples in the toolkit below as well. It's pretty simple in terms of the framework. There's just 4 things you need to hit. You just say why I'm reaching out. You need to make the value proposition. You need to back that up with some sort of credibility or proof, and then you need to have a CTA, a next step, right? So your value proposition can be pain-based, it can be fear-based, it can be outcome-based, it can be social proof-based, it can be case study-based. Point is, how are you answering the question of what's in it for them? So there's each of those 4 sentences answers 4 questions. The first question is, who are you and why are you reaching out to me? The second question is, why should I care? Why should I like what do you have to offer me? What's in it for me, right? Third question is, why should I believe you? Fourth question is, what should I do next? So let me say that again. Why am I reaching out to you? Or from their perspective, it's, so why is this person reaching out to me? What can they do for me? Can I believe them? And what should I do next? And pay attention to when you receive outbound messaging. You're going to be answering these questions in your mind to know if it's worth your time, right? So your copy has to answer those 4 questions. A lot of different ways you can do that with the templates and the frameworks, but you'll see that down below. So anyways, let's talk about once your campaigns are live, how do you launch, analyze, troubleshoot, and optimize? And we'll get into the tools as well, but let's talk about the strategy first.
Yeah, so when it comes to setting up the campaign launch, this also depends on which sequencers you use, like which email platform. For example, the email platform something that's the whole market is used to something like Instantly, and AJ here is expert in that, and maybe you're better to talk about that a little bit more than me there, AJ Leon. Great. So when it comes to launching here, we both follow a campaign architecture launch of mapping out. So let's say an accountant business, you have 2 segments. That is your best ICP. You have the restaurant owners and you have the e-commerce business owners, right? Now you have different offers that you create for each of these segments. So you want to test first with the one that you make the most money with and is in the blue ocean, right? So let's say that's restaurant owners. You want to test that first, and you want to launch these campaign. And AJ, you sound like you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the mental model here is, so when I'm coming up with a campaign strategy or GTM strategy, whether it's outbound or ads or whatever else, it's always like, what I like to do is I like to brainstorm a lot of ideas. This is why I use my AI tools to have a lot of ideas. Because for me, the creative process is about having lots of options, right? Like if I'm making a painting, right, and I have 2 colors to use, I'll make a better painting if I have like 40 colors to choose from, right? You have just more options, right? It's the same with decision making. When I'm making a decision on something, I like to have a lot of options. Like, when I hire people, I like a lot of options. So when I'm coming with campaign ideas, I'll brainstorm a bunch of campaign strategies. Let me test this offer, this niche, this message, this angle, right? This hook. And then I'll choose from them which ones stick out to me based on 2 things. One is data, right? So the research I've done, or the research my tool has done for me. And then the client data, like where have we had our best clients from? What were
Right.
what were the best niches in the past, right? So and then partly it's a little bit of just like gut feel and kind of prior experience. But ultimately, the question you're trying to answer is, which of these tests, which of these campaign ideas do I believe has the highest probability of success? Remember, I said marketing is one big science experiment, right? So I'm looking at all. So I like to have a lot of options to choose more from, right? I mean, let's say that you were gonna like recruit a football team. Let's say you were like college, or high school football coach or whatever, right? If you're recruiting a football team and 10 people show up for practice, you're taking those 10 people, right? If 1,000 people show up to practice, then you can choose the best 10, right? Or however many people play football. I don't know. You guys can obviously tell I don't watch football. I like ice hockey instead, and marketing, as you can tell. But ultimately, the more options you have, the better of a result you get because you can cherry pick, right? So you want to have a lot of campaign ideas, which again, that's why we have AI to help because it can give you like 100. Pick the best ones based on what you feel is going to be the best. It very often could be what you're saying, blue ocean and the right offer. That's usually going to be the best one. Or maybe through your research, you uncover something else.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's also through testing. You don't know until you test, and it also depends on the bigger the budget that you have, the more tests you can run, the faster you can run.
Faster
Right?
you
So
learn.
if you send 1,000 emails a day, you realistically can only test 1 to maybe max 2 campaign at a time, 2 copy variation, right? But if you send 10,000 emails, or for example, one of my clients who sent 100,000 emails a day, I've literally tested 20 copies in one campaign day 1, and by day 3 we figure out the best winning campaign that gets the most results, right? So it really depends on how fast you want to go, what your budget allow, what your infrastructure allow, to decide on where to start first.
Yeah, and one thing I would say as well is, sometimes it can be overwhelming when you have all these different campaign ideas. Which one do I choose? So again, you're trying to pick the highest probability of success. What does that mean? Well, remember the 5 things, right? We said email deliverability is most important, the scope method, right? Then prospect, then offer, right? So typically we're testing those things. So for example, it's almost like you want to basically figure out you want to test the direction. You don't want to test small differences. You want to test big differences in your campaign in the beginning, like very different directions, because testing a different industry or testing a different lead magnet, that's a big change, right? That's like a material change in the fundamentals, right? Back to baking a cake, right? The eggs, the flour, the milk, those are like the key things. If you screw that up, the cake's screwed, right? But the icing on the top, right? The wrapper, the box, that's kind of like the copywriting. That's like the presentation, and it's important, and like some of the taste, but ultimately you need the foundation good. So test the foundations. Like you don't want to be testing like 2 copies and change like 1 word. Like that's pointless. There's not enough data. There's not enough eyeballs and impressions for that to be meaningful, right? People only do that with like really big companies that have like millions of visitors on their website, right? So test the big things first on your hypothesis. And then let's say you discover that, okay, I noticed that restaurants that are above 10 million a year, I'm getting the most meetings with them, right? And closing the most deals. Because again, you can have all this data, right? So then you can just focus on that direction and say, hey, we're going all into restaurants for these campaigns. And then you can make smaller tweaks to the copy and the style and like those things, and the lead magnets. But ultimately you want to get clear on the direction first and then test the small things. So try to find your campaign direction, which is really your strategy, right? The niche offer message. And then you can kind of work on the smaller tests later. And also like eventually if you're hitting your KPIs, then you don't even need to keep testing. You should, but like once you're hitting your goals, you could just let the campaign run and just go sit back, go to work on something else, or go to the beach, hang out with your family, or go to Vietnam like we did, right?
And that's the mistake that many entrepreneurs make, is that as soon as they get a winning copy, like, oh great, let's try different things, let's test more. It's like, no, you got something that wins. Now, scale it.
Make sure it's consistent, and then focus on sales and converting the leads.
Exactly. And then like 5% of the time, sure, test something new, but make revenue from outbound first, make it consistent, and then you'll test different things. Don't try to do.
So now this is more of the process of like, how do we launch? How do we analyze data? What metrics do we look at? How do we troubleshoot? If the campaign's not working, what do we look at? And how do we optimize and scale from there when it is working? We're gonna give you a couple other quick tips here, but this is really process heavy. So just go to the SOP for this, and the tool will guide you as well, right? It's like this tool, you can ask anything, it could do anything for you within the outbound space, other than actually like run the campaigns and like hop on the phone and close deals for you, but maybe one day. So I'm not gonna get too much into this because the SOP is very like clear on this, but I would just say that the main metric you're looking for is kind contacts sent per positive reply. So like how many people do you have to reach out to get one qualified lead? And then also lead to appointment, so booked meeting, right? How many of my leads actually book calls? And then those are really, I mean, then beyond that, it's like the actual
show up.
Yeah, I mean, then the rest of the sales process. So there's the SQL, there's the show up, and then there's who's actually closing. But in terms of your email campaign effectiveness, the main thing we look at is how many people do we have to reach to get one lead? And then we just make sure that we're getting at least 30% of those leads to actually book a call, but usually it's 50%. And then there's, those are lagging indicators. Harvey, what are the main, just really quickly, what are the main leading indicators that you actually can influence and control
So I'd say many leading indicators like targeting, right? If you're not getting enough SQLs, obviously your targeting is off. You're reaching.
No, I mean like a metric.
Oh,
so what are the 1 or 2 metrics you look at to make sure that if you're trying to get more, if you're trying to improve the ratio of people you've emailed to people that you've gotten a lead from, what are you looking at on the front end?
So I look at reply rate. It's one of the biggest metric. Simply, if you get more people replying to your email, then you get more leads, right? And that comes from different things, and that we cover in the SOP as well, is the deliverability.
The scope method, the whole scope method.
Whole scope method, exactly.
That's exactly how you optimize it.
Right.
Perfect.
And that's saying how, like, what do people reply to you and where do people reply yes to you? So the positive reply metric, right? Because sometimes people just reply back and say no. But how do you get people to reply back and say yes? That's improving your offer. So again, the scope method, it's all in the SOP on which metric to look at to get more of the funnel and how do you improve it.
Yeah. So essentially, if you're launching campaigns, or if you're launching campaigns right now and you're not getting results, don't be sad. Just use the SOP, follow the scope method, and just think which one of these levers do I need to change in order to make a new test. It's always on to the next test and the next test, right? So yeah, that's pretty much that. I would just say one other quick tip is you can also learn from your negative replies. So if you're getting a lot of no's, but they tell you why, if they're like, we know one of our clients is always saying, the leads always say, I have a vendor already. This is a commercial cleaning company, right? I have a vendor already. So now we're adjusting our copy to include the objection handling of, you might already have a vendor, but we have this free offer right now, X, Y, and Z, right? So you can learn from the negative replies and the positive replies. Where we use AI here is we can download all of the replies we've gotten. We can put that into AI and we can say, analyze these for the sentiment and tell me how, and then upload the copy and say, I want you to refine my copy based on what people are saying in the inbox. So that's a really great way is sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis from the messages as well as sales calls analysis. Feed that data into our AI tool or your AI tool of choice, of course. And then give it your copy and it can refine it or it can write new copy. So that's a great way to make the messaging better is based on the real market feedback. One of my mentors always taught me that the money is in the mouth of the market. Like there's a lot of things you can do research on. You can do like market research, competitive research, but there's nothing more valuable in marketing than what your customers or prospects are saying, what you've physically heard or seen them say, right? This is why it's good to look at reviews of your competitors or your own reviews and look for the language patterns, right? Because people will tell you everything you need to know to sell them. You just have to listen for it. All right, so now let's talk about the tools. So you want to show them really quickly what are our favorite tools that have made this a lot easier to run and scale? So if you've done all this right, you should be getting a lot of leads, a lot of positive replies, a lot of money. But you got to take these leads and put them onto calls, right? So a couple things about converting your leads to calls. First of all, track your LTAs. This is lead to appointment ratio, right? This is one thing that we do for our clients. We don't just get them leads, but we make sure that we're actually getting them booked appointments that show up, right? So you should be aiming for 25 to 50%, but really 50%. If it's low, there's a couple reasons it could be happening, but there's a few things that cause your leads to go to appointments, right? Or affect this metric. So if you want to get as many leads as possible to book an appointment, there's a few different parts of the process. First is how fast you reply, right? Because if you reply within 5 minutes, the person is probably still sitting at their desk reading their email. And it's kind of like, I almost view like interest and demand like a fire. Like imagine you have a wood fire, right? And you put coals on it and everything else and you start it and it's burning. Well, if you don't touch that fire, it's just gonna slowly burn and then whittle into nothing over time, right? Attention is the same way, right? When you have a hot lead, they're gonna just naturally start to decline in interest because other priorities come into their life, right? They're like other emails are happening, right? Same with sales. If you ever had a prospect ghost you, like you send them a proposal and then you just never hear from them again, right? It's because you had their attention at the sales call. That's when that's when they're really interested, and you want to strike while the iron's hot. You want to always make the next conversion when the iron's hot, right? But if you let weeks go by, like this is why time kills deals, right? If you let weeks go by, then what's going to happen is the fire gets whittled and whittled, smaller and smaller, and then it just goes out, right? So you have to. It's always about keeping that fire going by keeping to add value and keeping the conversation going, right? But speed is part of that, right? So when you reply quickly, like if you just sent them an email, they're interested right now, it's on their mind, they're gonna be more primed to say yes to the next thing. But if you email them 2 days later, they're gonna be like, who the heck are you? Because they replied to 200 other emails since then, right? So speed to lead is key, and you can use AI for this. There's a few different AI tools that do this, but you can check that in the SOP. Then the other way to get your positive replies higher is call them, right? So warm call them. Have a caller actually call the person, because you might send someone a calendar link and you're gonna find that they're not gonna always book a call. So call them and ask them to book a call, right? And you can use that opportunity to even build a little bit of rapport. So you can call them, book the call, and then spend 10 minutes doing some discovery, give that information to your sales rep, and now your sales rep is gonna be way more likely to close the deal, because that lead is gonna be more likely to show up as well, because they've gotten a little bit of rapport with you, and they've learned a little bit about your process as well. So warm calling is great. Also follow-up. So we book a lot of leads on our follow-up. So if we get a lead, we send them a calendar link, they don't book. We send them a call, they don't book, or we give them a call, they don't book. Well, keep emailing them, keep calling them, right? This is in the SOP too, but like we have a cadence for this. So keep following up, because sometimes people don't follow up in sales because they just assume that people are busy. Sorry, let me say it again. Sometimes people don't follow up enough. Most of the time, most salespeople and most founders really, really drop the ball on follow-up. And it's usually because they assume, I don't want to bother them, right? Well, if what you're selling is helping them, you're not bothering them, you're helping them, right? You're actually doing them a disservice if you don't follow up, right? Because they already told you they were interested in your offer, right? It's going to solve a problem for them. So keep it in front of them. Just do it in a respectful and non-annoying way, right? But a lot of people think too, like, oh, they haven't replied, so they must not be interested. Wrong. They're probably just busy. I mean, they could have lost interest, right? That does happen, but most of the time they're just busy. I've had a lot of times where someone comes back to me a year later, hey AJ, I was so busy with a crazy internal project. So sorry, I saw your emails. I kept you saved, but I was just so busy. But now I'm ready to start. Especially in B2B sales, right? Like it's all about timing. So don't give up on your leads, keep following up, and you can also automate a lot of that too with the tools that we're showing you in the SOP. Beyond that, what else can get more of your leads to book calls? Getting the right leads, right? So if you're doing, so I just explained the follow-up infrastructure, right? Quick reply, follow up, and call them. Last thing is in your message, give them the right amount of information. So when someone says, hey, this sounds good, tell me more, if you give them a long essay, you're screwed, because now you've lost your leverage. They have no reason to hop on a call because they feel like they got everything, right? So if they ask a question, give them enough information to satisfy their answer, but get them curious for a call. So it's like you close a loop and you open it. Close a loop and open it. For example, this happens to me all the time. Someone sends me an offer through cold email or LinkedIn, and I'm like, this is pretty cool, but I'm pretty busy right now. I'm not free for a call. Can you just send me like a price range so I can at least understand like how this fits into our budget before I have a call? And always, man, I'm getting so many of these crappy AI responses now, which is the opportunity for you guys, right? Because people are just using AI to really like in a very bad way now, right? So I get these AI responses where they're like, sure, thanks, book a call here. And I'm like, I just told you I'm not free for a call and I wanted like something to read first, right? Or I wanted a price range. Or you say, hey, can I get a price range on this just so I know if it's in my budget before wasting your time over a call? And they say, I can't give you the pricing. I got to really see how I can help you first. You're losing so many deals by doing that, right? So you might be wondering, how do I actually get over that? I'm glad you asked. So here's what I do. If someone asks you for your pricing, let's say that, for our agency, our offers are between $6 to $25K a month. And we have some very affordable options for like coaching if you just want like coaching. But for example, if someone's asking me about my done for you, I would say, look, I can't give you an exact quote because it depends on like what you actually need. Like I don't want to sell you something you don't need. So we'll need a call for that. But to give you a frame of reference, it's going to be a minimum of $6K per month. Does that sound like it's out of this world, or is that possibly within your budget? And here's what I did there. Let's unpack the psychology. So the wording, does that sound like it's out of this world? They'll be like, no, that's not really out of this world. So I'm giving them like an extreme, right? And then I'm saying, is it possibly in your budget? Because I just want to see if they're open to it. If I say, is that in your budget? They'll be like, I didn't have a budget for this, dude. You just cold emailed me, right? But if I'm saying like, is it at least in the ballpark? Then that's, then I kind of get an answer from that. And then, by the way, guys, Why do you want to hide your pricing from people? Don't you want to know if they can afford to pay you before you hop on a call and waste an hour of your time, your team's time? So I never understood the hiding the pricing thing. But the other thing too in the psychology there is I'm telling them why I can't quote them on a price, and I'm giving them a reason to book a call, but I'm still satisfying their answer so that they don't feel like ignored, right? And people really appreciate that response. So yeah, your message should have just enough information to get them to a call, close one loop, open another, give them a reason to book a call. And if they ask for more information, give them like just only the information they need, like quick elevator pitch, maybe a case study, right? But not too much. So yeah, that's what I would say in terms of getting more leads to book calls. Anything else you would say about that before we talk about pre-call nurture and then wrap this up?
No, and really, again, do everything right, the scope method right. It should be relatively easy to get people on a call if what you offer is very valuable.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
that's, again, do it right. And when you do this part right that I just mentioned, you should get a lot of calls.
Cool. So real quick, let's just talk about pre-call nurture process. This is going to be in our SOP, but I just want to say really quickly that you want your leads to be in a buying state before the call. We've covered a few things already, but also when someone books a call, you need to have a sales experience between when they book the call and when they show up for the call. Most people just book a call, right? No communication, maybe a quick automated reminder or two, which people just ignore because everyone does it, right? Back to the pattern interrupts. And then they show up for the call. Or they don't show up for the call because they just forgot about you and you are not the most important thing on their calendar. In fact, you're probably the least. So you need to make sure you're keeping that. Remember I talked about the fire, right? You need to keep adding wood to that fire, keep adding wood to that fire, keep conversation, keep adding value. Stay top of mind, right? Because they're gonna have all these competing priorities. So the second someone books a call, they should be getting overloaded with social proof and also pre-handling their objections, right? And then they should understand who you are and what you do. So what we do is we have again, the SOP explains it, but just real quick, well, what happens with us is, and this is what we build for our clients, is we build them a thank you page. So as soon as they book a call, thank you page with the video. The video can say, hey, here's our company, here's what I do. It should be the founder to build a trust and a brand and a face to the name. I've had clients sign with me before and they say, by the way, quick tip, ask your clients why they hired you. You'll get the most gold market research. I've had a client say, I hired you because I love that, you're the founder, but you were in all the videos and it felt like human and you're on the sales call as well, right? I just feel like I'm gonna actually get good service here, not like some junior SDR that just asks me stupid qualifying questions all day, right? So essentially, thank you page with a video says, who are you? Humanize the brand. What do you do? How are you different? And what's the social proof? Then below the thank you page on the funnel, it should be all of that, but in text and image form, and then more links if they want to actually read or watch something. Ultimately, your goal is to try to drive consumption and pre-handle objections and build trust, right? Before the call. So the thank you page video does it. Then you have emails and SMS that redirect them to the assets on the thank you page. Because if they booked a call but they didn't watch a thank you page, then you want to have emails and SMS with different resources, right, from that thank you page. So keep it very cohesive. You also could put a Facebook pixel on your thank you page, and then you can retarget them. So then they can see even a video ad from you before they actually have a call. But honestly, do everything in video. So when I say thank you page, don't just have the written stuff, have the video. In the emails and the SMS, have links to videos because video just builds more trust and it increases consumption time, right? So yeah, do all that before the call. You could also have the salesperson or you use the founder, manually call them and just confirm the time and say, I'm super excited to meet you. I looked at your website based on this and this. I really think we can help you because we had a client just like this. Looking forward to talking to you tomorrow and sharing some insights about X, Y, and Z. Now, what is that framework? Confirm the call, show them you did research because most salespeople do not, and they'll be impressed and they'll be happy. People are always wondering, does this person understand me? Can they actually help my business? Do they understand my world, right? People always feel like they're the special cookie, right? Like, oh, my situation is unique. So you want to have the personalization and then just give them a reason for the call, right? It's, hey, on the call, I'm going to give you a couple insights or tell you about this client you remind me of, and we're going to help you out with X, Y, and Z, or deliver the lead magnet. So here's the thing. Sales doesn't end after the conversion. Sales is a series of sales processes. You're always selling the next thing. It's really always the next call, right? You got the first call, then you got to get them to show up. You got to sell them on showing up for the call. Then you got to sell them on the second call, and then it's the onboarding call, right? And then it's like their retention call. So you're always selling. You're always trying to get them to the next call, right? And you're leading the way for them. But yeah, basically, like, don't just think that because you got them booked on a call that the sales process is over. It's like, no, now the next one starts, which is make sure they show up and make sure they show up more likely to buy. So that's the pre-call process. You said also that if you're doing, we're not going to talk about sales calls in this workshop here, but real quick, If someone's getting outbound leads and they never got outbound leads before, they need to change their script in the first 30 seconds of the sales call, right?
Right. You need to change the framing. You can't just ask, hey, what made you book the call? I mean, dude, you emailed us. So there's a specific way to sell on cold outbound, and we put our best practices and framework inside the SOP as well for you to reference to build your script around as well. So check that SOP out.
All right, guys, that is it for this workshop. We've covered everything you need to build a $40 million lead generation AI system. And honestly, everything else down below that we've just breezed through is in the SOP, in the launch toolkit, and in the AI tool. If this all sounded good and you would like some help from Harvey and I to make your results better and to go faster and to shortcut the learning curve, and maybe you're thinking, I don't have the time to do all this myself, nor the interest, let me just take a minute to tell you about our done-for-you services, our price points, and be really transparent about all that. Down below, there'll be a page to learn all about our offers, our price points, how we work, FAQ, all of that. And if it sounds good, you can book a call. And on the call, we can build you a free campaign. So we'll analyze your niche, your offer, your messaging, your blue ocean market, and then we'll basically suggest to you like what we would do and what would be the best strategy based on our previous results, right? So again, you can book a call, which is no obligation to buy. You can just get that free campaign built, and we'll again, see if there's a good fit to work together. So definitely book a call, but for context, our pricing is between $6K to $25K a month, depending on if you're just doing outbound versus if you're doing multi-channel and paid ads and media and everything else as well, right? So minimum price point is $6K a month, and we pay for all the tools, right? So we're spending typically up to $1,500 a month just on your tools and some really advanced marketing technology that you don't need to buy, and then basically the rest is doing the work. And honestly, it's a steal because all of our clients get 5 specialists on their account. If you were to try to hire these people yourself, you're spending 20 to 40 grand a month in salaries. Plus you got to train them. Plus you got to pay for their vacations and their sick days and their insurance and all these different things that they're going to want and need and nag you for, right? So with us, we just have a proven system. We have our employees. We deal with the management. We deal with the training. You're basically paying a fee just to rent our team and also get us working on your campaigns for you. And more importantly, even if you do build an in-house team and you are willing to spend 20 to 40K a month on the salaries, it's still gonna take you like 6 months to get results because you gotta train people, they gotta learn your business. If you've never hired these roles before, you're gonna make some bad hires, right? Because I did at the start too, right? You're gonna hire people that are not good and you're gonna replace them and you're gonna pay recruiters. Eventually you'll get to a point where it's working, but it's gonna take a long time, right? Whereas with us, we have the proven system, the infrastructure, the AI workflows, the everything, the team, and you can just basically plug it in from day one and get results. So if done for you sounds good, book a call, get a free campaign demo build, just see our work first, try it before you buy, but just know that it's a minimum of $6K a month and it's a minimum 90-day pilot. So yeah, you have to at least give like a 3 months to properly test it. But again, we've probably helped someone in your exact niche, and we have between us hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of case studies. If you've enjoyed this, please let us know. We'd love your feedback. Share this with a friend who wants to get more leads and make more money because they'll be pretty happy you did. And we will see you guys in the next one.